Walking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes beyond the Walking Dead universe. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmomon09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner. I know. Who is that? I don't even remember your face. Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner. And, of course, well, Bridget's going to be on a bit later. She actually just came back. She just arrived to North Carolina. She flew from New York City, where she was staying with me while she was attending New York Comic Con. She'll tell you more about that when she comes back. And of course, Survivor's tier member, Takira, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/Connie Dixon for life. That's Connie Dixon, number 4, LYFE. And of course, hey guys, we're here live with you. This isn't pre-recorded. This is our first live stream talking about The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, and it happens to be the season finale, the season 1 finale. So how about that? Ooh, there's the buzz again. It's very big now.
I didn't move.
You know, and it stopped just now. When you did this, just stay like this. I'm just kidding.
Like antennas.
No, don't do it.
Like antennas. So yeah, we're live again. We're live.
Yep.
So no escaping the 20-minute tangent about I don't know, whatever in the world we decide to go off the rails about tonight.
Right.
You guys don't know what you're missing. You guys don't know what you're missing in the unedited, because we really go off the rails sometimes.
We not only go off the rails, we'll give you actually extra to the episode. We'll talk about books that relate to the episodes and different stories and podcasts that might relate to what we're talking about. There's just no time for. A 3-hour podcast, a 3-hour recording cannot fit into what we try to make an hour and a half, but doesn't quite make it, at least for the Daryl Dixon episodes. So, hey, everybody. First of all, hey, the ones who talk, which happens to be Takira, who, she has to talk to. Why aren't you here? Anyway, I'm just kidding. Hey,
Here you go, Bridget. I'm holding the pose. What about now?
Okay. Yeah. Hold that pose. I can see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Bridget says, which, okay, I guess she's on her way back, or she's... Anyway, hi, Milani. Hi, Walking Dead Eternal. Let's see who else. Oh, thanks. Hey, okay. So, let's talk about this episode. Before we do, if you haven't... the buzzy. If you haven't seen... well, you do what you can. If you haven't seen our art design for the covering representing the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, it's not more relevant than it is tonight, because actually, let me show it to you on the screen, because of basically the Book of Carol coming back. We talked a lot about this last week when we covered the news coming out of The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead at New York Comic Con. Of course, they made many announcements relating to The Ones Who Live, which is the Rick and Michonne spinoff. But of course, they announced, first of all, they played the finale for the folks in attendance, the finale of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. They also played a teaser of the second season of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, which we got finally on Sunday night. And of course, they announced also the title of the second season, which would be called, takes a deep breath because it's a mouthful, The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. And you know what? We had a big exchange on Twitter a couple days ago, I think it was by now. And I let everybody have it. And I said, hey, they should... Go ahead.
That's not even easy to use the initials for, like FTWD or
right.
TWOL.
Yeah, towel.
Or TOWL.
Right.
But TWDDDBOC is just, it just doesn't roll off the tongue.
No.
Like,
I'm just finding out about this right now as it spilled out of your face. Like, I've been so
you
sheltered.
Didn't listen to our podcast?
I didn't watch the episode. I hadn't even watched the episode yet. I couldn't watch your coverage of it if I hadn't even watched the episode yet.
I'm in our coverage at New York Comic Con. Why isn't it? I'm kidding. I know you're busy. I'm just giving you shit.
That was
right
full of spoilers too.
Some of it, yeah.
Y-
Some of it is
Yeah,
Hadn't
it
seen
spoiler.
the
was. I
episode.
was really angry about that.
Actually, give me 1 second. Something isn't quite right with the
The Book
stream.
of Carol.
So somebody made
Why
a
does that sound
tweet.
very Star Wars to me?
The Book of
Everybody keeps
Carol.
saying like the Book of Eli.
That's
I
what it
said that
made me
too.
think of, the
Hmm.
Book of Eli.
So
But
somebody
the
made it.
Book of
Oh,
Carol, like I foresee like a 2.5 sided love triangle. Like like
Okay, you need to finish that sentence because I don't.
well I mean, we're talking about the episode now because this is gonna go into it.
In a minute, so let's get first impressions. I feel you. We're gonna get into that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, I think we had a vigorous discussion on. I think in the last episode, we had some
It
very.
was, as a matter of fact, it's one of the clips I cut out was
Ah,
us talking about that. Yeah.
okay, good. And this is gonna be a continuation because, of course, a lot was said and done. First impressions, Takira, what do you got for me? What did you think of this episode? Did they leave us off on a good note? And in addition to your first impression, and was this episode, as you'd said at the beginning of the last episode, do you think this was better than the last one? And
I was right.
you like this
I
one
think
better than the fifth?
that
Okay.
it was the best episode of the season, just for so many reasons. So many like there were just so many moments, but also the story flowed really well. I think it came to a pretty well-rounded ending as far as like getting him to where he needed to go. And then they gave us a little extra at the end. So who can complain?
Oh, I can see people complaining.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But then again, I'm glad. All right, Rachel, we
Uh,
haven't heard. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. I don't know if this is for now or later, but I just want to say that we've seen many sides to Daryl that we've never gotten to see before.
Hmm.
And I don't want him sharing the screen to mute that.
Sharing the screen to mute. Oh, with Carol
Yeah.
to diminish that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that is kind of what I was feeling when I'd heard they changed the name or did something with the name, the
Hmm.
Book of Carol, and I'm like, okay, now you're backing off calling the series The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon instead of using a clever name that would have
Wait,
represented both of them at the time.
Bridget said, talk about it later, please. She wants to be here for
Okay, no,
it.
we're only doing first impressions. We can circle back to it, but just make a note so that we don't forget.
Okay.
Okay, Rachel, it's been a while, and listen, all the shit that we are giving you before we went live.
Yeah.
I it should
I'm
be
sad
known,
now.
just like Quinn trying to make known
Mm.
to Isabel that he was responsible for helping Daryl, save Laurent and she.
Before
I
you say something,
I am responsible for suggesting this time to make it so that Rachel could be here with enough time to watch the episode. So I should be
This is true.
thanked on behalf of everybody here. Anyway, go on. Hey,
before you say something, Rachel, I just want to say I had a moment and I was like, Rachel was right. And then I.
Right. Vindicated.
wait, right about what
Yes.
exactly?
Yes.
Though?
We'll get to it. We'll get to
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Wait, so hold on.
Yeah.
He interrupted my heartfelt, albeit self-aggrandizing appeal that you got here when I wanted you to be here because because I miss you.
Yes.
And then we won't even get into it?
Thank
Oh,
you.
no, we
Really?
will definitely
Dave.
get into it.
Let me say thank you, Dave.
No, now I mean. Oh,
let,
yeah?
let me say thank you, Dave, because we've all been complaining about doing it on Sundays anyway, because we only get to watch the episode like
I've been
once or
complaining
twice
about it.
before we have to record. So yes, thank you for moving it to Monday for
Yeah.
us.
Oh, well, you're welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Dave. So I could be
Thank you,
here.
It's the last episode, too. You said you
Who
weren't going to be
are
able to make
you?
a Sunday.
Who
So-
who are you? I don't.
I know.
Why do you keep saying thank you, Dave? I don't.
Who? She's very protective. This Sharon is very protective over me. She's like, "Who's this lady who's pretending to be part of the fam?" Anyway, well,
I'm gonna go now.
no, don't go, don't go. You'll make me Chad. Okay. Anyways,
She
Wow.
just put doll Rachel up there in her place anyway.
Yeah.
by the way,
Right there.
by the way, my self-aggrandizement, I'm assuming, is what's triggering Bridget in the chat. Dave, suck it. No, I stand by my suck it. Well, listen, you're not here right now, Bungie Brewster. But when you do, I'll do the whole thing. But anyway, Lonnie says, we haven't done this in a while, so we have to say what people say in the chat. Well, first of all, Bridget says, no love triangles. Walking Dead Daryl says, it might as well be the book of Boba Fett. There's a joke in there, a Star Wars joke in there. So you've watched that? Hold on. You have time to not do anything else.
That's...
I'm kidding.
No. I'm just saying when you said that, the first thing I thought of was the book of Boba Fett.
Right.
That's why I said it's very Star Warsy.
Like, what is this book that Carol has that must be
I don't like. We're going to talk about that more later because I don't like it. And I will tell you why I don't like it.
There's a capital suck it in the chat.
Oh, I'm sure there is. But Walking Dead Eternal says, I swear Daryl got his own music just like Rick did on... I thought about that as well. And The Walking Dead 9-5, well, also was played in the first episode. We're talking about space junk, obviously, in the first episode. This is the pilot episode that was played at the end of that episode, as well as 9x5 when he left the show. When Andy Lincoln left the show, Rick Grimes left the show. But yes, I felt the same way when we got the U2, what was the song called? Some Say Goodbye, Say No. Well, that's the words of the song.
Oh, yeah.
It's called... I wrote it down. I write down everything. Seconds. That's what it's called. And it's like seconds till the nuclear war, basically. Interesting. Okay, so going to... Okay. Dave Suckett. Lonnie says, when he visited the gravesite, exactly. Nope, I stand by the Suckett. Hey, Michael and Lord Zachary, it's been too long.
Michael and Lord Zachary.
Hey, all you amazing people on the panel.
Guys.
Yes, hey, we missed you. It's been too long. I guess you only come by when we're live, okay? Well, we're happy to be here for your enjoyment. Okay, reception going out. Suck it. It's a lot of suckets from Bridget, and it's like my fault that her reception sucks. The state of
you are a
North
robot, so fix it.
Am I?
Dave, fix my reception.
Fix my
Reception.
I had that panic. Do you remember when I sound like a robot? I had that panic just now.
Yeah, no, you don't sound like one. You just are.
I just am one. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I conceal the robot voice very well. I've upgraded over the years.
He's
it trickles out sometimes.
He's
though.
like Bender living in the closet of the great big apartment.
Yeah. Well, this is where Bridget stayed, by the way, right behind here. This day bed. So. Oh, I just got shot by your buzz bullet. Scared the hell out of me.
I didn't even move.
Your very existence disturbs the force. Okay, so next.
I'll accept that.
Well, this is perfect timing because Charity, what did you think about this episode? And as far as endings go, actually,
Wait, you skipped me.
did I skip? Oh, I did. I'm sorry.
I didn't even answer the question.
Oh, we were too busy destroying you, basically. Say, who is this person who's giving her first impressions?
You're
Is
just,
she a new Survivor? Do you remember?
Heart. Just crush me, rip my heart out, make me eat it, and then be like, fuck you, we don't care what you think about the episode.
All the better. All the better. All the funnier, actually. All right. So sorry about that. So keeping in mind the ending and whether it was satisfying or not, what did you think about this episode, Rachel?
Yes, this was...
You know what threw me off, by the way? I apologize. You know what threw me off? It was Kira going, wait, I wanted to say Rachel was right. And not talk about it. It completely threw off my game. And then we made fun of you, and it just ruined everything. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, we knew going into this whole new series that we were going to get a season 2. So I didn't feel like it was going to be completely wrapped up with all of our questions answered. And they didn't. There's still a lot of questions going forward. It was very action-packed, very
Michael and Lord Zachary tipped $20.
You're gonna interrupt me again. What?
Big love.
Michael and Lord Zachary gave us $20. And they said big love. Thank you so much, Michael and Lord.
Thank you.
See, even they're trying to interrupt you, Rachel, with love.
That's okay. I will allow that interruption. That interruption is welcomed.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
Thank you guys. So sweet. So yeah, I thought it was a really good episode. Very action packed. Definitely had me on the edge of my seat. I mean, it's been a while since I felt like I didn't know what was going to happen, right? I mean, there were very few predictable moments where I'm like, oh, do this and then do that and then boo and then yeah. But overall, it was, yeah, I felt excited watching this,
Make
and
The
it was
Walking Dead
really
great
good to
again.
feel, yeah, it was really good to feel excited about this because I mean, I've been feeling some
Right.
dread and like
Right.
loss
That it won't
since,
wrap up the
our
way you wanted it
mothership.
to.
Yeah, I've just been like sad since our mothership, our mother show ended and and then, fear and there's that whole mess and
There's fear.
so
So
I've
then
just been
the all important question then is this series receiving the high ratings that it earning the high ratings that it's receiving in your opinion then?
I think so.
Okay.
I would say yes. It had a slow build, but it got there. In my opinion, it got there. It brought it. Yeah.
You look
I
almost
will
emotional.
say selfishly, I'm not particularly happy with the end, not the extra end,
Okay.
but the end
Okay.
because he was
Because
going home. Just
uh-huh.
let him go
So
home.
I
And
was
then
right to
Laurent's like,
call you out in the last
Daryl,
episode.
Daryl. And I'm like, stop. Just what? Okay,
So
first of all, stop. Like, why are you there? Don't stop this man from going home. And two,
oh my god.
how did he sneak out of the nest when like literally everyone is watching him eyes on? Like, how does he just follow Daryl all this way?
I was so
Because
like,
that
I
was not a short trip.
I'm pretty sure that was a hallucination or he was in his
that's what
mind
I was
about it.
thinking. Like,
That
is that a
wasn't really right.
hallucination?
That was the idea of Laurent calling to him, not the actual Laurent.
Or
Okay,
spooky
I can
beta
swallow that much better.
spooky beta crap. It could be Laurent using his telepathicness and stuff.
Oh, because he's a special
He's a
child.
special. He's a special.
Okay.
He's a special.
Okay,
Or
I can get behind that
Even
much
that?
much better.
Because I was just
No,
totally
no, no,
being a
no,
dick.
no, David, you're ridiculous. No,
Yeah,
the ladies,
thank
no,
you.
Sharondy's
I
right.
appreciate right? Yeah, you gals are always right.
yeah, that's
Except when
that
they're
was
I
not.
my
like that.
first thought. I was like, this has to be a hallucination because number one, how did this kid get there?
Yeah, how?
You know what? Okay, well, let's take it one step further because I
The
love
o-
this. I love this. I
the
love
only
it. But do you think
the
even
only
finding
thing
the
that I'm
grave is even real? By the way, or is it something that was
I
in his
want
head?
I want to say
I
I
would
yes.
want
I
it
say
to
want
be
to
that
say
was
yes.
yes
real.
I
too.
want to say
I
yes.
think the
But there were
part
a
with the
lot of
grave, the
graves.
part with the well,
We'll
and
get to the
what I
details.
appreciate about that was that they didn't show him finding it after looking at the third one. He
Right.
Yeah,
obviously looked for a
yeah,
long time
a
before he
long
found
time.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked
Um,
that up, and it should have taken him a long time with
right,
the size of
like
that
Mm-hmm.
cemetery.
right. So I mean, it looked like he was what he looked for a long time before he found it, and I appreciate they didn't go, oh, he found it on the third try.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it was
but I think
2,500 dead, basic
I
2,501
hmm
I
on the beaches
think
of
that
Normandy.
the graveyard was to cement the fact that he was supposed to be there to complete the circle, right? It's all about the circle.
Oh,
Mm.
I thought you meant that he was supposed to
So
be like not exist. But
no,
okay, yeah.
no, that he was
I wrote
he
that
was
down
supposed
too.
to be
I
a
was thinking of
prince
you.
because it's the record player and all that again. It's the circle. He's completing the circle of coming back to where his grandfather started. And what I felt he was thinking at that point is how different would my life have been if my grandfather had not enlisted and gotten killed over here and started the downslide of the downfall of our family.
Or
How
he'd come
different,
back.
right?
And then
How
he
one
would
Right,
died and
right.
came back.
How
maybe he would
different
have
would
never
my life
been
have
alive
been?
too.
And would right, and my life would have been different, and I would not have been here anyway. So I feel like the graveyard was there to cement the fact that he was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the 1 hour special?
I did
No.
not. I didn't have time, unfortunately.
So Norman says that in his heart, the graveyard scene actually made Daryl want to go home more. He said that,
That's not what the writers. Okay,
yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think I feel like
I'm
the
just talking
person
shit.
that plays the character doesn't always agree with what the writers say
I think we
about
find
Sure.
the
that a lot.
character's experience.
Yeah.
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 But he said for him, like, he felt like it would have made Daryl want to go home more because it's just a reminder that this was his grandfather's life. He died young in a country where nobody knew him and never got home to his family, and he didn't want to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then what does that say to leave kind of like I know that Judith and RJ in many ways are his kids, even though, like Michonne did as well, left them. I mean, he's leaving Laurent too. And in many ways, you can't deny that, or you can. Hey, you're entitled. But you can't deny that there is a connection, especially throughout this episode. You see it in like B-roll throughout this episode, how much they're enjoying each other's time, having fun with each other, learning about philosophy, looking at each other across the room. In some ways, yeah, of course. In many ways, he cares about Laurent and how he is and
Well,
being with him.
maybe he feels like he's already served his purpose in America. Like I'm not saying he's already served his purpose with Judith and making sure that Judith and RJ are safe in the Commonwealth.
Like you said in, I think, the 2 episodes ago, when it came to Daryl's dream, right?
Right.
Which we got to revisit in this episode.
Yes, we did. Yeah. So I think that Laurent is someone who still needs him. Right? And he's not really safe because there's still people after him. Whereas Judith and I'm also going to guess that Judith and RJ are significantly older. Well, Judith has got to be what? 13, 14 now, if this is what, 5.
Let's not get started on this.
Right. So anyway,
but yeah, you're right.
Judith
is
Definitely
older.
older than Laurent. Oh, maybe.
Right. Well, maybe about the same age, but Laurent's been protected and Judith hasn't.
And
Well, Laurent's supposed to be what, 12?
it's technically, according to this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
Judith might
think-
be just ever so slightly older.
Or not at all. I mean, maybe she's technically she's supposed to be younger. Cause
No matter
You
how
know?
old Judith is supposed to be,
Right.
do you guys think
could talk
that
timelines.
Daryl?
no.
Forever.
Do you guys think that Daryl would really do to the group not what Rick did on purpose, but basically what Rick did, which was disappear alive, but everyone thinks he's dead because they never heard of him, never heard from
Well,
him
there's
again?
that he can always get word back now that now he knows
Yeah.
there's ships and stuff. He can always send word back where he is. It's not like apparently, well, we don't know, but apparently
Look,
Rick's
it
been
ain't been
restricted
easy
from
this
that.
this far.
But
No,
I mean,
but
well,
he
here's
did. But he
here's
did
the
make
ship.
contact with Carol. Like they.
But that was in
they did
America.
make
But that was in
contact.
America.
That was in America.
Oh, that's well.
Right.
They were on the ship. They were.
No,
oh,
no,
no,
that
sure.
was
That
at
was
the
at
that was at the
You're
gas
right.
station.
In Freeport.
So,
That's
but
right.
but say
Damn.
this
Well,
the
there goes
boat
that
that
theory.
the boat that's
Damn.
coming to pick him up. He could say instead, "Let me give you a letter, and you take this letter to England, and maybe someone in England can get it to Newfoundland."
That's a
and someone
lot
in
of
Newfoundland.
hope.
Well, I
That's
mean,
a lot of hope.
yeah,
That would be Union of Hope.
stranger things have happened.
I'd rather train a carrier pigeon.
For real.
Wow, we never ended up talking about that too. Crazy shit. All right, well let's read a couple things before we continue, and that is first of all, thank you, Mike and Lord Zachary, again for your generous donation. And if you want to donate too, if you love what we're doing, you can head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, and you'll notice that when you do tip us, you'll see your tip, and it'll be here forever on this screen in this video, memorialized. And we'll also cut clips and probably show it to people because you're great, and we should show people that you're great. So thank you, Michael Lord Zachary. Melanie, it was a hallucination, really? The way that the walkers kept appearing had me wondering. Yeah, I was going to talk about that as well. How, I mean,
I
it's not
wanted to bring that
unusual.
up.
Right,
Yeah.
it's not unusual to have lurkers. He was yelling at the boat for some reason, as if it would hear him. Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
There's-
I think that comment is specifically what I'm thinking, right? Like I'm totally on board with Laurent being a hallucination, like Daryl's like envisioning him. However, when we see that overhead shot, it appears like those
Yeah.
walkers are going after Laurent.
Yeah, it does.
They're
Okay.
heading towards him.
I had an alternative theory, which was that Laurent convinced someone he needs to say goodbye to Daryl, and instead of going around the outside and taking the longest way possible,
They found
they
the
found the
road.
freaking road and
Well,
went straight there.
we might as well bring this up because Kira, you threw up a map of
Maps.
the American
We love a
cemetery.
map.
Maps.
Well, Google Maps, but it was a map. These people. Oh, Heather Jenks, you
Heather Jenks tipped $5.
Heather.
Female sign.
Heather.
female zombie sign with green heart. Thank you, Heather. And there's Nicholas again
Thank you,
saying thank you. to Glenn, and before he kills himself. Thank you, Heather. Well, see, she threw off our game now too. Well, we don't get to show the map
What were you
now.
saying? Maps.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate it. Oh my goodness, I'm just overwhelmed. But anyway, screen, and let me go to here. Let me show the map. Yeah, I know exactly. So you have to do it. You gotta do it. You gotta. Okay, so Kira showed me the cemetery down here. We did the distance too. We pre-did the distance. Oh no, this is Mont Saint Michel, and this is the distance straight as the crow flies, as Sharon D says,
As the crow flies.
to the Normandy. Wow, Normandy. I didn't make the connection until now. The Normandy American Cemetery, the beach where he's supposedly at. And yeah, as the crow flies, it's about 58 miles. That means over land and sea. And
So we're not supposed to believe Daryl walked along the edge of all of this.
yeah,
Are we?
I'm not convinced that that's what he did, but I mean, if you want to be safe, but he's clearly walking inland.
I mean,
told him. That's what he
I would
told him
say-
to do, though.
I would say he could have walked around the water there and then gone across land the rest of the way instead of going around the coast.
So it's
Because
interesting.
he was obvious. There was a couple places where it looked like he was inland, like
Obviously
when he was in
inland,
the really
yeah.
tall, in the really tall grass and a couple other places. And obviously he walked for a few days because it showed him at night a couple of times. So he could have walked around the water and then gone straight up in the land.
Well, you can even look here. There's a big tributary here, following. So that's Lasse, and you could take that as far as there's many ways here in the north.
His instructions
there's
were to
roads.
stay by
There
the
are roads
ocean.
there.
Was it specifically the ocean?
Like he told him, like stay by the water and
Yeah,
follow
he
it
said
around.
stay by the water, but
Well, but
I don't.
Isn't the river water?
I'm gonna say that
Right? Am I wrong?
they don't. I'm
No,
gonna say
it's
that they
lava.
don't always
Oh.
hold. They don't always hold to correct geography in these shows because Rachel and I did maps of
Yeah.
fear, and there was like stuff that was like no.
Now,
And,
now.
No, we asked Mikey about it, and he was like, "Well, we try to keep some things vague,
Right.
because
Otherwise, people
because
mob the
there's
sites.
freaks like you that go out and look for."
Yes. Yes, there are.
But what I'm saying
Listen.
here is, from where Daryl is to the cemetery, there are actual roads that he could have taken, where he
Mhm.
didn't have to walk through mountains and rocks and cliff
Swamps.
sides and
But
swamps.
did he have a map? Because
He
like,
did.
how
We saw
would
him
he
holding
have-
one up.
you could pick a map up anywhere. I'm sure.
I mean, one that he can actually read.
Excuse me?
In
Whoa.
Well, I mean,
Whoa.
you can follow roads like you can follow roads, but
Oh, is that
Oh,
Bridget?
hey. Hi.
Is that
Who's
Bridget?
that?
Who's that?
Hey.
Bridge T.
So, just to say it,
Hi.
because you may be listening to the audio podcast, Bridget just came on. Well, I miss you already, Bridget, because you were here, as I mentioned at the top of the show, visiting me for the weekend. Not necessarily me. I happened to be a place you crashed at. But it's Bridget. ko-fi.com/Punky Brewster. That's PUNKYBRUISETER.
Hey guys,
Hey, what is all that sound?
I don't know.
Sounds like New York.
Yeah, it did.
It does, doesn't it? But it's not. I don't hear
Wasn't me. Cars,
I
you
live in
never
the
hear
country,
car
dude.
traffic here.
Kira's,
Yeah,
That's not
there's
a
no
thing.
car traffic around here.
Kira's oddly silent.
I was like, oh no, they hear Minneapolis.
Minnesota. Okay, well, what were we talking about now? I don't even remember. Well, let's
Maps.
stop sharing for a second because we don't need this anymore. This dumb map. Good for nothing.
You were gonna
map.
ask me what my first impressions were.
No, it wasn't.
This is true.
Let's move on.
Yeah. He's spicy tonight. We got David with extra spice.
Anyway, all right.
I'll say
Well-
it. I'll say it 1,000 times. Suck it, Dave.
Well, it doesn't sound like
Yeah,
you're
I
talking to
agree
your
with
mic,
Bridget.
By the way. It actually, there we go. It just
it
switched.
was turned.
No, it just
Suck it,
I just
Dave.
saw it switch over to the mic. That's what I just saw.
That's weird because it was on that mic.
No, it
when
was
I
on the
started it.
webcam for some reason.
Look-
Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, boys.
Sorry, boys.
Anyway, Sharon E, aka Blazy Garner. What? Well, first of all, what did you think of this episode? And did this episode deliver a satisfying enough ending for you to keep watching because you hate this show?
No, first of all, you are twisting my words. Okay.
I'm strawmanning you to all hell.
I agree with Takira. This is the best episode of the season. Started with a bang. Like that Walker fight was awesome.
It's almost unfair. It was that good.
Yeah. I did say that when the show started that I totally expected to hate it, and I didn't. I didn't hate it. I've loved every episode for the most part. Even
Do you
the
want
ones I
to
didn't-
remind everybody why
Mhm.
you thought you might hate it? What was that feeling like? Because I don't think we
just-
really drill down on that.
No, well, I mean, Daryl's not one of my favorites, and just like everybody else, I was like France
And
I mean,
Dog's not
come
there.
on,
So
right? And he left Dog behind. Like, what's up with that, Daryl? I mean, I was just like, I don't see how the show is gonna be. I felt like it was gonna be cheesy, as stupid, and so I've been pleasantly wrong because the show is great.
Isn't it great
Like,
to
this
be
show is
wrong?
great. So I loved the episode. I want to say, did you guys notice that there's like a kind of a washed out feeling to the show and the color palette? Like
Yeah.
everything looks very overcast all the time. Like it's always gray, and the whatever color palette they're using or whatever, it makes everything look very gray and washed out. And it was especially pronounced in this episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that was intentional.
But I love the ending. I know a lot of people were like Rachel, like what is going on? Why is Laurent there? But like I really think that's just the battle between Daryl's mind. Does he stay or does he go? And Laurent's calling to him. But
Oh, Bridget, for a second, the theory was brought up that the end scene was a hallucination or a figment. What do you think about that?
him
Oh,
seeing Laurent.
Yeah,
Him
I
seeing
thought you might
Laurent.
want to weigh on that.
I don't. Maybe I could see. That was not my take.
What is your
But-
take? Might as well. We might not come back to this.
Oh,
You
my
never
first
know.
impression. I also have. to
No,
run to the
we're not gonna.
restroom
No.
because I literally
Just
walked in the
this.
door and sat down
Just
at the computer.
this.
But anyway,
I'm the showrunner here. Okay.
listen to this gimple.
say who's the
Anyway,
barber here?
Wait, that's not a bad thing. Anyway, go on.
Somebody pour some milk on him. He's too spicy.
No, what was your take at the end though? Was it actual? Was it?
Well, okay, so the first time I watched this was at New York Comic Con.
Shout
Before
out.
everybody else. That's
Whoop,
right.
whoop.
Suck it, everybody.
Clout.
Anyway, so
I'm better than you.
my first impression of
mean?
this episode was that guy was getting it to that U2 song, because there was this guy who was sitting kitty corner from me, and when the song came on at the end, I was like, "This sounds like old U2. Like I feel like this is U2." Not
We-
like a super well-known U2 song, but like a U2 song.
I remember
you
talking
just-
about it with
they
U2.
all have that sound.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you
Yes.
can't miss Bono.
It sounds like a
songs. Anyway.
vinyl record too, like that kind of vinyl sound feel to it.
So that song's playing, right? And it sounded vaguely familiar to me because my dad really loved U2. And so I was like, maybe I know the song. There is this older gentleman who was also bald like my father. So it was almost like being with my dad. Actually, it was like a really sweet moment. So he's in front of me, like kind of kitty corner, but like in the row immediately in front of me. And he is just rocking out to this song. He knows all the words. I can see him
Is he
singing
si-
along.
Oh god.
Like he's not singing out loud,
Okay,
but he's like
okay.
he's mouthing every word.
Okay.
And he
Respect.
is just like dancing. And I was like, I was like, I love this. Like, I love this so. I don't know what's happening. You clearly have like a connection to this song, and I'm so happy for you. I just loved it.
love the song
Um,
high school. Yeah.
I just loved it. It
Basically.
made me so happy. Okay, I said this to Takira, I said this to you privately. I did not say this publicly
Because
yet,
it was a
but
secret.
Whoever said that the 5th episode was the best episode is a moron.
Okay, you can look at the blog to see
This
who that was because I
was
wrote it.
hands down the best episode of this season.
I
This was
I still
a
agree with the
great
5th one.
episode.
The 5th one I liked a lot
It was
better.
a great episode. And yeah, the Carol thing was cool at the end, but like even without that, this was a great episode.
No, it was definitely a great episode. I still think that the last one was better though, in my opinion.
No, that gladiator scene at the beginning was
was
Now it's my
dope.
turn to say,
It was super
suck it,
dope.
It
It was
Yeah,
super
suck
dope.
it, Dave.
Suck it,
Man, why
Dave.
can't why
Suck
gotta be so
it,
mean
Dave.
about it? Jeez. We can have different opinions. I like Devon. Nobody liked
No, I'm a
Devon.
New
Even
Yorker
if they're
now,
wrong.
Dave. This is
Tales
how
of
I
the
act
Walking
now.
Dead. Yeah, that's fine. Jeez. You know, I could turn you guys off, every one of you, but I don't because I'm very loving and I'm also benevolent. Also, I got Rachel on the show today.
I'm benevolent, like in an evil way.
No, we could have recorded yesterday. Okay, I don't care. It's fine. It's fine. You guys can be mean to me. It's fine.
You would have hated that. How would you have managed?
I
this
would have
sound? I
hated
would have
it
been
so
in-
much
in
if
the
you
room
weren't
with
here.
You would have been.
I would have
so
like
mad.
I would say, you know what? I'm stepping down as a host, and Rachel, Rachel. That's a joke. I would never step down. You guys are stuck with me. All of you. All of you.
It's true.
Crazy eyes. Anyway.
If you put me in charge, we would all be on Zoom, and then you would never watch us again because you'd be like, I can't listen to this.
Yeah, no.
The quality is so bad.
It's terrible.
my God.
Even right
The
now, even this is
quality.
barely doable. This is barely acceptable. But we do it for
my
you
gosh.
because sometimes
This
we have to
guy.
go live and have quality recordings in the background. Hey, Welani. Okay, so let me read some comments before we continue.
Okay, I'm
First of
gonna
all, Josh
step
Pineda,
away
hi, thank you
and
for
be a
coming.
person.
Exactly, Josh Pineda is amazing. He followed us from TikTok all the way to Facebook, and he's on our Facebook Live right now. And he does a little Walker cosplay every now and again, and he's a very coordinated dancer. I'm calling you out, Josh Pineda. You're a very coordinated dancer. He and Kayla, was it Kayla Mullins? If I'm getting this right, I know it's Kay Mullins on TikTok and also Instagram, and they do a lot of duets together. So you were called out, Josh. Boom. Anyway, so Melania says, I liked it better than Did City. Interesting. That must have taken a little bit, a little bit of convincing. Marcus says we saw it in episode 1, and he put it away after he on shore because it was destroyed and burnt. What was it exactly? Do you know what he's referring to?
Oh, the vest.
His
Oh, the
vest.
vest.
We
Vest.
saw it. We saw it this episode.
Right.
We saw him fold it up and put it in his bag.
He said it. I didn't know it was the vest. Anyway.
Which I thought was interesting.
Okay. I have something to say. I don't have too much to say about it, but anyway, it's nice. It's nice to see that that's not gone. Well, says, "Love me some
Seems like
vinyl."
an obvious symbolism.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost too obvious. This is why I said that. Welani said, "Love me some vinyl. Love me some you too." All right. Welani agrees with everything I say, obviously, and so it's just me. It's not any of you. I can make things up. Hey, Jason Cohn, who's a background actor on Fear the Walking Dead. I'm calling you out too, mother.
Hey.
He's very psyched for Fear to come back, obviously, because he's in it too. I mean, not obviously. He says it's pretty awesome. So
I'm trying to be super psyched for Fear to come back, but it's hard because it's also the end.
yes, well, it's similar feelings to Rachel, right? This is what brought us
Yeah.
together.
Yeah,
it's hard to
Fear-
imagine it.
Fear, especially for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bridget says, "Hey, Josh Pineda, I'll have to follow you on TikTok. What's your name?" Josh Pineda. God, you just told him his own name. Oh my goodness. And first of all, she's here and she's somewhere else. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. She left the room again. First of all, I'm talking shit because she can't talk back. That's my
She just
favorite.
got off an airplane. Give her a break.
No breaks for Bridget. Anyways, well, I was gonna go to her first impressions, but now we'll never go to your first impressions, Bridget. I'll give my impressions at the end of the episode as usual, probably, maybe.
Bridget can
Never
just
know.
give her last impressions.
Yeah, Bridget. No, she doesn't get an impression. You snooze, you lose, right? Like Juno said in the last episode. And then he gets punched by Daryl in the face.
I
Who
want to
pissed
know.
in your cornflakes today?
I want to know
Bridget.
if you guys can answer the most important question from the episode. Are you
Yes,
ready?
I love it.
Is Carol gonna go back and let that guy out of the trunk?
Yes,
No,
yes,
No.
yes,
no.
yes.
No.
Absolutely not.
Then again, she burned down the savior remainders after the time jump. Just because, you know, why not? It's to remove a threat. First of
I
all,
mean, I'm sorry. That guy deserves to die just because he shot a Mustang. There aren't as many of those left in the apocalypse.
that specific model Mustang, too, is in one from the 80s, too. It was is an
Agreed.
82.
Dennis said it was the ugliest Mustang ever made.
I love that. I love that. I had like a micro machine of that too. I love that car. It's like an 82 Mustang. I know because, well, I don't know, but it sounds like it would match up to the song, which reflects sentiments from 1982, the U2 song Seconds. So I thought there was some interesting symmetry there. But
what does the 80s mean? That means danger, doesn't it? Oh, wait a minute.
oh, on The
Wrong.
Last of Us.
Wrong show.
By the way, interesting. So I'm glad you
They're
brought
all
that up.
bleeding together.
I know that when Just Keep Walking was breaking down the last episode, Deux Amours, they brought up a lot of Last of Us comparisons to that one. So I recommend listening to that. Their episodes are usually fairly short.
Ooh, that was fun. I
Sounds very important to
missed.
say.
I missed last week, but there was something I wanted to bring up that I noticed in the second to last episode when Daryl was still on the state side. Did anyone else catch a glimpse of the Sarah lookalike herding the walkers onto the truck?
Sarah,
She had like the long blonde hair and like the pinkish burgundy cap, and I was like, ooh, there she is.
Sarah Rabinowitz?
Yes, Sarah
Oh, from Fear?
Rabinowitz
That's where she ended up in Maine.
in Maine.
I did
Right.
not
Herding
notice that.
Herding walkers.
You know, I wish this wasn't live so that I could.
It wasn't her, but I
Okay.
was like, oh, I see you.
Aw. Ah.
Well,
well,
it's nice to know where she ended up since Fear didn't bother to tell us.
That's exactly it,
Yeah.
not it?
That's I'm drawing my
Jackasses.
own. I'm
Yeah.
drawing my own story for her.
Since you're here, Aiden actually had a very good observation about that scene. I know we shouldn't be dwelling on this because we have so much more show to cover, but he had mentioned that the strobe lights at the back of the trailer to lead the walkers in did remind him of when I think it was Aaron and Daryl were actually out in the world, and they were at a truck
It was
loading
when
dock.
They went to it was the canning company, and they
Right, the loading
they
dock
went
at the
in-
canning company.
right.
The
And
cannery.
when he opened up the after they let all the walkers out, it showed the wolves getting all the walkers back in by putting the strobe lights and stuff in the trucks and the music.
Right. I figured that was a good way to give Aiden a shout out because since then we hadn't really seen that tactic. And the guys in Maine, Freeport, were using that to herd the walkers into the truck so they could take them to France with a freighter that goes to France. Aiden, shout out. Aiden, well, by the way, Aiden Atkin Whispers here, remember, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/Aiden Atkin. And he writes a mean blog. It's very mean, not like me today, though. Bridget! You're back. What about your first impressions? Now that you're drinking something.
I thought you weren't gonna let her
Alright,
do
listen,
them because she
I'm a-
disappeared.
I'm a merciful God.
Dave,
As I've said many
so
times.
thirsty, Dave. I've been dehydrated all weekend.
As long as I give
Um,
credit to myself for being a merciful God while I'm being merciful and still
what am I giving
talking.
you?
First impressions. And did you think that
I
this...
already did.
No, you didn't. Not really. We told you to do one specific thing, and that was to tell us about that scene. And then I said, okay, now you can
Oh.
give first impressions because you've earned it.
Oh,
You earned it. Oh my god.
yeah, it was good.
I can't.
Can we move on?
All right, and the ending... Do you think the ending was satisfying enough?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
You know, I hired
I'm
you
sorry, Frankie
without
is
paying
so
you.
whiny right now because she's so
How-
excited that I'm home.
how hilarious would it be if Daryl went home and Carol was coming to France, and they passed
know,
each
right?
other on the ocean? And then
Not only
Carol would-
hilarious, super
Carol
hilarious.
would show up and like meet us somehow in the vastness of France. She would find Isabel and be like, "Yeah, I know that guy, Daryl. Everybody knows Daryl in France now. He cut a swath across France."
Father Daryl.
Oh, Père
Bye,
Daryl.
Carol would be like, "Father Daryl."
What happened while I was gone?
So can I get to the triangle with like 2.5 sides?
Yeah, why not? Let's go there.
All right.
Sure. This is
Look,
going to lead into many conversations, I'm sure, many bits
Dave,
of evidence.
I think you're gonna get your wish because they were throwing some eyeballs at each other this episode.
Throughout the
Both of
entire
them.
episode, upon
Both of
examination.
them.
Bridget, you didn't
Both
have
of
time to
them.
Hated
rewatch
it.
this episode. When I offered, you were like, no, ooh, I don't want to.
I've watched it twice. I've watched it twice.
Did you? On a
Yeah.
TV, though? I offered to
Yeah.
help you watch on a 4K television, and you're like,
I
"Mm."
watched it with you the
Um,
first time you watched it. What are you talking about?
Excuse her. She watched it at Comic Con. She didn't need your stinking TV to watch
I
it.
watched it on
Dave.
a big
Wow,
screen.
wow. Ungrateful. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
I watched it with people I don't know.
All right.
That doesn't sound
So-
as good a thing.
So anyway,
It's making it seem.
anyway, they were throwing eyeballs at each other pretty hard, and if Carol shows up, this is where the half side of the triangle comes in because I feel like it's gonna be like one sided maybe, or like there's gonna be like they think there's gonna be some kind of triangle, but I don't know. Are they gonna do caroler service and make it? I don't know. I don't know. That's just what I see coming.
You know what? It's a fair question that I think some people should weigh in on, especially the people in the chat. I'm just going to say that right now because I would really love to know what you guys
Right,
are thinking.
Lonnie, Daryl, have you ever been in love? I will say, you know, um, oh my God, I can't remember. Isabel is his type.
You're
know.
referring to what she says, Daryl, have you ever been in love? Or Sylvie asks.
Lonnie said it in the chat.
Yeah, she's quoting Sylvie too.
Yeah.
Right.
While they were in the car
I
on the way to
just-
the nest, I think.
I love the face he made when she asked that question. Like,
Well, what do you think
I think
that it meant?
that my husband was correct in saying that face was like a. How the hell am I even supposed to answer that question? Please. And I
Chicks
can
am
roll with
right?
that. Yeah,
Which
I can
is,
roll with that.
Isn't it similar to what Laurent says in the last episode about I can tell that you miss Isa too because when I ask you about her, you have the same feelings you do about the people you just mentioned. So, and then he just does not
Well,
respond to that at all. Just like
I
when
mean,
Sylvie asked the question. So what does it mean?
Poor Sylvie. Poor Sylvia, right? Like, she's been in a convent her whole life. And she finally found a guy that not her boyfriend guy, but Daryl, who's a decent dude that she can talk to. She feels comfortable asking questions like this because who else is she ever going to ask about it? As far as she knows, Isabel is a nun too. Isabel doesn't know any of this stuff, So who else would she talk to about love or anything other than Daryl because it's the only person she could think of to talk to.
I think that's wonderful. And she does ask Isabel herself. It's 2 or 3 episodes ago, I think it was. By the way, while we were talking, Takira was showing a picture of Sylvie on her side of the screen, which is a very good one. Actually, I like how it auto white balanced and showed the actual screen. Very. And it's a good photo of Laika. Laika is her name in real life, the actress who plays Sylvie. So,
So I'm just saying
So-
it made Daryl uncomfortable, but I can see where she was coming from because she wants to know this kind of thing, and she's got a boyfriend, and who better to ask about what a guy would think or feel than the only guy that you know that's trustworthy and you feel comfortable with.
yeah,
And she's so curious.
And to your
everything is
point,
so new.
I think it is also like she's sort of also asking for herself too, not just
So
asking Daryl carte blanche.
So
Right,
when he doesn't answer, he has that look on his face, and I think a lot of us, I mean, maybe I'm speaking for the carolers, are like, oh yeah, he loves Carol, he's in love with Carol, blah, blah, blah. Which he has love for Carol, yes, that is undeniable. But to be totally honest, the first thing I thought of was he didn't answer because I don't know if Daryl would be able to recognize that feeling even if he had it. And I think the only person in his mind that came close would be Leah. And what happened there.
Yeah,
She betrayed him and he's like, was I in love with her?
Right.
Can I, so that's where my brain went.
Yeah.
I feel like this series in many ways gives respect to that relationship with Leah without having to say it like Fear would. Fear the Walking Dead season 8 so far. I should be clear.
Stop.
But it wasn't until you'd said that I realized, oh, there's a lot of that in these conversations or lack thereof on his end as well. And it does justice for a character who was very quickly written off the show because of time constraints. I'm assuming at this rate in season 11, just getting rid of that character very fast. So thank you for that. That's amazing.
Like I said, she's a lot like Leah. That's kind of leans to his type.
Well, she didn't grow up a mercenary, and tried to be with a kid.
Sort of the opposite.
Yeah, very the opposite. She was not a killer nun as he described, by the way. I think that was evidenced very well enough. Couldn't even handle.
Well, I mean,
But she is a woman who can
obviously
take care of herself.
right, and maybe she wasn't raised as a mercenary, but she obviously has some experience on the streets picking pockets and I guess you could say she's a mercenary in her own right because she's still out there taking money for a job. You know what I mean? Like she's tough. She can take, like you said, she can take care of herself.
Like,
Oh
what are you
yeah,
saying?
I forgot. I wanted to point out kudos to whoever said that Isabel was going to save herself.
That was Sharon.
I think that was
mostly.
Sharon.
Mostly.
We wanted her to.
We wanted
that
her
was
to,
What we were
yeah.
rooting
Mhm.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
Using that skill, again, taking a skill that you had in your previous life that wasn't super great and making something of it in the apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
You know, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to dig further into that a little bit more when we get the chance. But I really want to chip away at this since you brought it up, Sharon, the lack of a love triangle, essentially. I if you ask me what the lack of response and the looks meant, I definitely do agree.
Did anyone ask you? I'm kidding.
Let me just kick.
Hey, I gotta
I
throw the
worked
spice
so
back.
hard.
You've been so spicy.
So I
So glad I'm back, right?
I am actually. This is great. So if you'd asked me, and Rachel says no, we didn't. I would say that I agree with the fact that yes, this man is in arrested development. Of course, he doesn't know what love is, but I also think sometimes love is obviously a feeling. It doesn't. You don't need a technical manual to know what love is. Sometimes it's just that easy. And so
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do. I want to know what love is.
Yep.
no, wait. What about Taylor Swift? Anyway,
I want you to show me.
I can't.
I want to.
I can't edit
dig
this out.
into this.
No, I'm kidding. I won't. I wouldn't anyway.
I want to dig into this a little bit.
But wait, yeah.
because
So I was about to finish something. So I think he's mad. I think he's mad for even feeling any semblance of something for Isabel. That's what I think it is. You can see that throughout this episode, not just limited to love, but I think part of him is upset that he would miss Laurent, whatever. He would miss any of them. I think he feels terrible having to leave them or feeling like he has to leave them. You can see this in the conversation that he has with Lo Sang, the last one that he has. You're on mute. Did you want to say something, Bridget?
Well, so Daryl's not a monster, right? Like he's a good person. We know this deep down.
Arguable.
He also knows that he's leaving them in a vulnerable spot. That
Mhm.
Janae
As well.
knows where
Yeah.
they are and that she's coming. So I think that does hold some regret for him too. I'm not gonna speak my piece on the whole Isabel thing because it is I don't care. One way or
Okay.
the other.
That's
So
I
fine.
don't care.
I
I
kind
don't
of
think it's romantic, but like whatever. I also don't think he has romantic feelings with Carol, and there's gonna be like a bajillion people on Twitter telling me I'm an idiot and that I'm wrong. So it's fine. I'm gonna move away from that. Anyway, I just think that
What? What? Why did you just suddenly stop talking?
Travis asked me about dinner a lot.
Bring him on. Bring him on. You're ruining my show. When's dinner? You're home now. When's dinner? Is that the size of it? Is that the size of it? Is that what's happening? By the way, this is stuff that normally gets edited out. So just appreciate the fact that
I
this happens
warned you
now.
This is
folks
what
at
I
you
the
don't
get.
care.
beginning.
This is
I
great.
warned you folks at the beginning of the show. This is what you were gonna get.
You may not like.
That's what you get.
So, Bridget, I actually touched on that a little bit before. That he he leaving Judith and RJ. He knows that they're relatively safe at the Commonwealth now, and they don't need him. Whereas Laurent is still in a very vulnerable position, even though he's at the nest, which is safer. He's still in a very vulnerable position and needs his help.
Well, and
Whereas,
Daryl was
Yeah.
giving those people arms training, and they
Mhm,
clearly
I didn't get the
Right.
impression that they
great
were
at
very
it.
well. Yeah,
as
they
he was
So-
were
looking
not fighters.
longingly at Isabel, waving
Yeah.
at her as she wakes up for the first time. Noticing, by the way, let me throw
See?
some more
Nope.
evidence that he was sleeping right next to her, refusing to sleep in another room. Obviously, because this is a religious order. Maybe they want to separate the men and the ladies and the men, unless they're coupled up. Separate the ladies and the men. Maybe I don't know. Just thinking about it out loud.
Well,
know.
Daryl's the kind of person that if she turned Dave, like if she died suddenly and
Yeah.
turned, he
Oh,
would
that's
be the
your
one to wanna
thought?
put her down.
From she was recovering nicely. You think that's the reason? I thought that too. Never mind. I was trying to give
I'm
you
just
shit.
saying, like he would be the one to want to put her down, and he wouldn't want to risk anybody else there from that. He will always take that responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'll bring this up again. Look at how he acts with Maggie. Still, to this day, he owes her everything, he feels like, because this guy cannot like let himself catch a break. He will always feel like he owes somebody something.
And maybe he'll use the
Yeah.
excuse of owing Isabel something, whatever that may be, instead of grabbing the ring. Taking a Catcher in the Rye reference. Grabbing the ring and taking what's his. What was that?
I mean, like, well, we've talked about it in the past few episodes how even I said I didn't see a whole lot between them romantically, maybe from her end, but not from Daryl's. But as soon as they got to the nest where he felt like he could let his guard down just a little bit, that changed. So maybe like when
I
they
can
were
agree
on
with
the
that.
road, he didn't allow himself the luxury of feeling anything because they were too busy being on the road and trying to survive. But now that they're at the nest and he can kind of be like, somebody else has got Laurent now, that I don't have to be on him 24/7. And that was when he kind of could reciprocate the feeling or whatever is going on between them.
Or allow
But there's
himself to release
something,
that fart that he's been
right?
holding.
There's something. I mean, like I'm not reading anything into this. Like with Negan and Maggie, like they were looking at each other hardcore.
Isabel and
There
Daryl,
were-
not
there were some-
Yeah.
Maggie and Negan.
There was some eyeball action happening that I was not
And
a fan of.
waving and smiling at each other, both.
I'm not.
I mean,
not
I mean
here
the
for that.
the Maggie and Negan the Maggie and Negan chemistry was there, and like I'm not the only person that saw that, but
Yeah, sparks.
that was nothing like this. Like this was straight on. If Daryl could, if his eyeballs could have come out like that, like in the cartoon, and
Like his
hers
heart
like the other
beat out of his
way,
chest.
their eyeballs would have been meeting in the middle
Their
of the
eyelashes,
table.
as they
Okay,
batted them at each other,
okay.
would meet. They
Can
were
I
so long.
just okay?
But wait,
let's
wait,
break it up.
One more
Let's
thing.
break
One
it
more
up.
thing. I just being serious, being absolutely serious. The one thing that you can say for sure, maybe mostly, I think we can mostly agree on this, and we don't have to, but it's fine. Daryl's happy there.
Mhm.
I'm talking about
think-
the kind of
I think
happy
he
that you
would
don't
be-
really see very often from him.
He would be very happy if he could let go of the feeling that he has to go home. Like if he would let it go, he could be very happy there.
Right. But it gnaws at him. And it would. I think it would for most of us that have that sense of
Well, yeah.
loyalty.
Do you know when we go to the camp and we're all together and we're all so happy that we're together and we're with each other in person and we're with all these other people that we really love? Why? Oh my God, why am I getting?
And then we have to go home.
But I have to go home, and I want to go home because that's where my husband is, and that's where my dog is, and that's where life is. But there's also a sadness that pulls you to be like, I wish I could just stay here.
Mhm.
So that's to me where that is. It's that melancholy, like in happiness. Like you have the happiness, but you know that there's other obligations, there's other things out there.
Bridget, you're
And you don't
super
want to leave
smart.
any of that
You're
behind.
super, super smart because that is a very good way of looking at this.
Yeah.
But
that
I'm
was
going to
a
have to
really nice
disagree.
analogy.
I'm going to have to disagree wholeheartedly. Do you know why? This is the only reason why.
Here's why you're wrong.
No. Yes, also that. But here's where I wholeheartedly disagree. The people that Daryl have to go home to, and I don't disagree with that, they would say to him, why did you come back home when you found happiness for yourself? They would say, I'd happily let you stay there. It's not like going back to your dog or your wife or whatever, or child. Wow. Which is
His
brought
dog
up.
is there.
Yeah, his dog is.
But he
Well,
needs to go back
Get
to his
another.
dog.
He'll get another dog. He'll call
No,
him.
no,
He'll call
no,
him my petit chouchou,
No.
no.
like Janae says in the last episode.
Also,
What do you mean?
listen,
No,
there's a
no. First of all, this is a
there's a
man who's
bigger
never been in a
picture.
real relationship. Okay, it's brought up on Reddit today,
mean-
and I got very involved.
Leah was real for a minute.
Yeah,
I'm
she,
just gonna-
until she
For a
wasn't.
minute, that was very real.
Boy.
I don't like
Until
to
she
say that he
wasn't,
hasn't
but it
been
was
in a real
real.
relationship anymore because it was real with Leah.
It was real for a minute. Till
It
it
took
went
you a
bad,
while,
but
though,
Listen,
to
there's a
Kira,
bigger,
right? To-
but there's a bigger picture here. Like Daryl is
No,
still
'cause-
in the middle of a mission.
True.
Like he still has
Well,
not completed
Right.
this mission. Like
See,
he still
okay,
needs
I was
to go
thinking
back
much
and
like
share this information.
much like Laurent said when he tried to run out of the cell, and Isabel was like, "Why did you do that? They could have hurt you." He was like, "I was thinking, what would Daryl do?"
WWDD.
And so,
WW.
what would if Daryl's thinking, what would Rick do? Would Rick leave this if he knew that his kids were safe at home, and would he let go of this mission that he's on to save someone else?
Yeah, I think he definitely would go home.
Mm.
This is Rick
Well, I mean,
we're
I'm
talking
saying-
about.
Did you
Rick
hear
would
the
go
last
home.
thing? Did you hear the last thing she said though? That Sharon
Rick would
said?
go
Someone
home.
needed him.
If someone
But
needed
someone
help.
needed him.
Right, he's
If
on a
someone
mission,
needed help,
and
Rick
they
would
needed
help
help. Rick would stay and help them.
It's like
If he knew
Letterkenny.
his children, if he knew his children were safe at home and didn't have to worry, he would stay and finish the mission before he would leave.
Right.
But
What-
they
Yeah.
would worry. And what they're
And these
trying to
people
make us
are- these
think
people
is
are ill
that
prepared for what's coming.
that I 100% wholeheartedly agree with.
Yeah.
But again, all I keep thinking is Daryl knows that Rick has been gone for years and everybody thought he was dead and the heartache that everybody suffered because of that. And I don't think he would put anybody at home through that same thing.
that
was
I don't
gonna say-
disagree with that. I don't
I was
disagree
gonna
with that.
say,
wondering. The
maybe
wondering, yeah.
That's not
maybe
fair.
he would
yeah.
say, "What would Carol do?" But then he would just go burn down the, go find Janae and burn it down. Like
Burn it all down. Burn it all
Well,
down.
She'd,
What was
she'd
all the
end up
fuss?
in the trunk. She'd end up in
By
the trunk of a
himself.
Renault.
By himself, no backup. Yeah.
Oh, you mean like Joel Miller in the hospital?
Yeah, that's Carol in a nutshell, right? Joel Miller is both Daryl and Carol. I guess a walking hashtag Carol, CARYL. Why two people when you can have one? Okay, let's read a couple
Okay,
comments.
wait.
Let's read a
No.
couple comments before we continue. Okay, first, Wally says, Daryl, have you been loved? Josh
You
Pineda says,
just
what do you
don't want me to say it.
No. Josh Pineda says, what do you think of Laurent not wanting to kill the zombie to save Isabel initially? And I thought that's a very pivotal moment for him. And it goes to the dream that Daryl had in the third episode, fourth episode, I want to say, right? After he falls to the roof.
I mean, he thought he was killing a human. Like that divide is not in Laurent's head at that moment.
Yeah, and the things that we've been
He's
He's
saying
never
about.
killed a walker either.
No, yeah.
He's never had to do that.
But it's the whole.
Plus, it's his dad.
And it's his dad.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
his dad.
and it was Walker
So-
Quinn. Yeah. So it's a stack. It's a huge
Mhm.
stack of things against them, and the whole thing that we said from the beginning, which was it's very possible that they think that these things can somehow reverse and become alive again, or that they're alive to begin with too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Carl even had a few kills under his belt before he had to deal with Lori. So
Yeah.
Laurent just
Yeah,
kind
which
of
is
got
hard
thrown
enough.
into this, like, kill this walker, and by the way, it's your dad. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that's
all
a
the
lot
things
for
you
a
thought
kid.
But
before, plus it's your dad.
The
Ish.
difference
Yeah.
is like he knew his dad for what, a day,
like 10 minutes, yeah.
2 days
exactly.
or
Yeah.
whatever, You
Yeah.
know, like even he says, yeah, he was my dad, but that wasn't really the issue
Yeah.
I was having. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
I
There's
know I'm
other
Well,
always
and
things.
he was really close to Isabel too. I mean, you're talking about a kid who's
yeah.
never wielded a weapon. Like,
Right.
what if he hit
Y-
Isabel?
Yeah.
Do, can I say Bridget was there when I was watching it for the first time? And I was like, and when that happened, I'm like, this is, I don't like this one bit because this kid, A, has never killed a thing. B, he's wielding
Yeah.
this heavy, heavy, heavy piece of weaponry. And I'm like, this is,
Medieval.
and it would be fitting that Isabel died right there too. I would find that acceptable that he missed also. I don't
Guys,
like it, but it makes
I
sense.
I know I'm always the one saying this, but Walker Quinn started running.
He was more agile. I'll say
There've
that.
been a lot of
Well,
runners.
but it might be because he got bit by one of those crazy variant ones.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Speaking of the head exploding, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
In one of the one of the
That was
walkers that was
awesome.
injected. Yeah.
Wait, no, my
Beautiful.
favorite part was both of them preparing for the walker to come, and then the other walker just came out of nowhere and smashed into
Yeah,
him and ripped
that
his
was awesome.
face off.
Ripped his
Like, oh
jaw
shit,
off.
Walker's eating walkers now.
Yeah.
I love
Like,
it.
What?
Hey, listen, as long as they're
Yeah.
fighting each other, they ain't fighting us. So,
That was wild.
well,
Yeah.
like animal behavior too, that alpha pack mentality or something, maybe to get that
Oh,
food.
Bye,
Um,
Jason.
Oh, hey, Jason.
Bye,
Oh,
Jason.
Jason.
take care, buddy. Thank
The,
you for coming.
Bye,
The chain,
Jason.
the two people them chained together made me think of in episode 2 when they went to the symphony and the people outside with their arms shackled together. It made me think of that. But that was really far away.
You know what though? Let's dwell on that. What Sharondy's referring to is right. The beginning of the was it second episode or third? What was
It was
that?
the second.
Second episode.
It was the second
Yeah,
episode.
Alouette, right? And they're about to leave the symphony. Sylvie's squaring up to shoot the walker that's dragging the other one by the shackles. They're both the one walker is shackled to an obviously dead walker, and we were like stuck on that imagery. And little did we know, for sure that ties into the last episode. For sure,
Well, it
that was
zoomed in on the chain.
yeah,
Like,
the shackles.
Mm-hmm.
It made you think that there was more to that.
Yeah.
So good catch, Sharon, because I didn't
Yeah.
even think of that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Also, I rewatched the whole series
Chef's
this
kiss.
weekend, and I was like, so if that was a variant, my girl Sylvie would be gone.
You're talking about
Because
Quinn?
she took so long to square. No, the one that Sharon D was just talking
Oh yeah,
about.
she'd be dead.
Like she stabbed the shit out of the one guy and no hesitation, but the walker, she was like,
Right, the actual guy that was trying to kill her fastly.
Yeah, but we talked about that
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
That someone who's trying to actively kill you and a live person has their faculties and they know what they're doing.
True.
Whereas
yeah.
the zombie, the walker doesn't know and it could still be sick. And you wouldn't kill someone who has mental
Right.
and it was just mentally ill. You would try to save them and help them
Right.
whatever.
Right,
So
or
that's-
disease of
I-
the
I
spirit
mean,
or something
yeah.
like that. But let's keep going with this because first of all, I love it that we brought it back, and second, there's imagery there too, because the reason why that it's important that A, that they're shackled together is because B, Janae's whole thing about her philosophy about how this started was selfish people wanted more, greedy people wanted more, right? And maybe she's referring to greedy people as mostly the United States. And maybe that the reason why she's just going to the United States and getting those walkers is because F them, they started this. Maybe. I mean, obviously, they find Jenner's tape with the woman who's seeing it on the other side, the woman scientist on the other side who's looking at the tapes, Jenner's tapes. And so maybe Janae's assumption or the soldiers' assumption is that they started this and that's why they have more information or whatever it is. But that's not the important part. Let me move on. I think she was betting that because Quinn was an advantageous transactional man that was trying to get one over on her, and Daryl was the kind of person who, I don't know what, he was the guy who killed Caudron's guy, or one of her soldiers, let's say, even. I think she thought that they would, just like Quinn assumed, that they would fight each other to stay alive. I think her assumption in chaining them together was like Quinn had initially assumed, so that one of them would survive and the other wouldn't. to show the people that we're better than them. We fight for each other and we fight to survive together. You know, the meek who inherit the earth. They're
Or one of them,
selfish.
or one of them would throw the other one under the like, throw the other one under the bus and throw him to a walker to distract him or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of how threatening these walkers are. This is a whole different variety of walker. It's why when you mention the walker, the two walk, the one walker that's dragging the dead corpse behind it by the shackles. Why that imagery is important is what is the assumption. Is that story too? Is that story and the story that happens time and time again in this universe? How many times have we seen somebody Otising somebody else where we get it from the first time we see it, or Randaling, or whatever you want to call it? How many times on the show have we seen that? Interesting, huh? And now we're kind of like, no, it's not cool anymore. Now we're turning to big ass softies. Maybe because we're a decade or older than we were when we first saw these shows. Maybe we can't handle this. Maybe like Daryl, we've gone soft in some ways.
Can we talk about Quinn and like he I found him hilarious in this episode because I just thought about how he was talking shit to Daryl in the cell, and I was like,
First
I
of
just
all,
wish.
filthy language. Okay, first of
Oh,
all,
sorry.
my goodness.
um, and I just wanted Daryl to get up and smack the sugar honey iced tea out of him, and he didn't. He stayed cool, and I was like, okay. And then they get in the arena, and he goes from 1 second like squaring up like he was really about to do something to Daryl. Daryl would have demolished him, but then
It was
Daryl
funny.
was like, "Follow my lead," and he's like, "No problem." I just thought that was
Okay.
hilarious.
Which
The
doesn't also
change up.
The
doesn't that go?
actor,
Yeah.
there's a point where I think I can't remember exactly what happens, but Quinn looks up with this look on his face that it cracked me up. It was the funniest look. I think it was
I should pull
when
it up.
oh man, I'm gonna have to find it, but it was one of those things the actor does, just a little actor moment that made that moment even better. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I caught it the second time, and I was like, man, that's really that was funny. He was like, he gave him that look. I loved it.
Can you describe the look for the people who aren't
No,
watching
I
us right now?
can't.
Is it more
I
like?
can't.
Is it more of like
I can't. I can't.
amusement? Is it more like that's frightening? Let's
No,
cooperate.
he's more like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know how to describe it.
I
I don't.
think his it was a lot of things going through Quinn's mind of not really knowing what was about to happen. So they go and they get Daryl, and he sees Daryl leave. And next thing you know, they're coming to get him, and they got a chain on him, and they see they're gonna chain him to. He sees they're gonna chain him to something. Then they chain him to Daryl. He's like, okay, I'm gonna have to fight this guy again. And then next thing you know, he sees all these walkers, and then he's like, what the f is that? When
I
they
don't
start
hate him that
shooting him
much.
in the neck, right? And then
What the fuck is that? That's what
Hey, hey,
said.
language! Oh my goodness! Oh, it's Quinn.
So
It's not you.
I
It's fine.
said fudge.
Oh, okay.
I
Said
think the
fudge.
look,
Oh,
like
triggered.
finally when Daryl
Triggered.
was like, "Follow my lead," like I feel like for a second Quinn might have thought that him and Daryl was feeling the same way about these walkers. Like, damn, what are we about to do? And then Daryl's like, "No, follow my lead." And Quinn is like, "Oh,
Yeah,
okay."
because
Like,
Quinn hasn't seen one of those walkers yet either.
right,
Oh,
right.
Daryl just dealt with one, and one thing I noticed is that the emblem on the flag
Is the
that
pouvoir de
Daryl
vivant symbol?
is also on the anatomy book in the
I brought that up already. It's the second episode actually.
that was a long time ago, Dave. You can never long things.
It's the pouvoir de vivant symbol, which is interesting. Well, you can go to the blog for that. I go into that a little bit harder in the first and second blog, just tying together what they're trying to study, the walkers and stuff. But congratulations, that's pretty cool.
My favorite part was when Daryl picked up the head and threw
Yes,
it
Right?
yes, yes.
Did you notice the filed down teeth on the walker?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had like spiked teeth.
Bridget,
I would hate to have that job.
you know a little
Like
bit more
that's
about
gotta
that
be the
too,
worst job.
because at the New York Comic Con they were talking about how they had specifically paid attention to detail on that one specific piece of filing down the teeth to make them even more aggressive. Right?
Like, who filed those down? I wanna
Greg
know who
Nicotero
filed
Like
those
himself.
down.
I don't want that job is what I'm saying. I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want the Walker teeth filer downer job. That you can keep that.
Uh,
So the actress that sorry, the
No, no, go
actress
ahead.
that plays Janae on the Hour special after the show, she was talking
And
about
Charrier.
yes, how huge of a Walking Dead fan she is,
Oh,
and so
really?
how
Oh,
yeah, and
awesome.
she was saying like when she was up giving her speech and everything, that it was like such a surreal moment to her,
Quizzer.
and
Quizzer.
how
They
she was
all say
like,
that.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
she was like
They
how
all
she
say
was
that.
like
Quizzer.
so excited because Daryl threw the head at her, and then she's like, but then I see this head coming towards me, and I start freaking out
Because it gets real, right? It's
because
like
it gets
real.
real. Yeah.
So I really really like Janae, like as a villain. Like she
Right. Not as
is
a
Hmm.
person.
the end scene with her and Cadron when she's like talking about being in the museum at night, all the eyes following her, and now she knows how to read the eyes.
Mm.
And then he pauses. You shot my men, and he just pauses for a second, then takes a long drag off the cigarette, and I'm like, that scene is the most French scene I have ever seen in my life.
I felt like he wasn't even trying hard to convince her though. Like even when he was telling her
No.
story, I
That's a
was like,
really,
She
really
already
good
knew.
point. Really, really
I
good
want to
point.
know. I want to know why he went
I don't
back.
know. I don't
Like,
know.
how are you gonna show
yeah.
up? How are you gonna show up with not a scratch on you and be like, "Well,
So I think this kind of goes to why he didn't kill them in the first place.
Because Rachel was right.
because I was right."
Okay, now I know what you're referring to. But you're not really right. You're not right until that one moment where you were right. It's like saying, "Oh, but he came around to me being right." Okay, like no, no. But yeah, okay, fine, you get it.
Mm.
You get it. What we're talking about for people who aren't following, which of course I didn't at first. Rachel was right from the first episode, saying, "Well, maybe he's not the bad, like a he's not the worst, or maybe he's not the bad guy." Right? You're saying about Caudron
He's
not being the bad tattoo
he's this
face.
show's Raleigh.
He's just
Oh,
Raleigh.
I'm convinced that
Yeah,
he's
but
not that much of a bad guy at all.
don't say
Like
Raleigh because at the final analysis, Raleigh was a dickbag.
Raleigh
Yeah, he
ended up
was.
Well,
being bad.
Mm,
Yeah.
it
that's
could be
not
that
foul
you
language
know
too to say
Cadron
that.
said earlier that he was kind of conscripted into this army or whatever you want to call it,
In
mhm,
the third, fourth
and
episode.
it's not like he was a gung ho
right.
soldier or anything like that. So what I was thinking when that scene when he didn't kill them was he was putting himself he was saying this guy is just trying to protect this kid like I would try to protect my brother. And I'm not I couldn't I what if someone was going to kill my brother in front of me? I couldn't stand that. So I feel like he had like a sea change is like if these people are the kind of people that would want me to just kill a little boy in cold blood in front of the people that love him, I don't want to be a part of this. This is not what I signed on for. Killing
Hmm.
killing people whatever doing whatever but it to
A
kill a
child.
little boy in front of these people. And also maybe there is something to Laurent where the way Laurent looked at him and said God loves you, it just he was like I can't I think that changed his mind.
Like, why is that so wrong? Also, that even if you're about to do this, why is him
Right.
saying this
Well,
so?
but
Why
maybe
kill
he
this
he
kid?
bought into it. He bought into Laurent when he bought into the idea that Laurent could be a messiah. I feel like.
You're going. I'm not going
Honestly,
that far, but like,
I
why
don't
kill a kid
think
that
he
would
would have.
feel that way?
I just don't think he was gonna shoot him.
But
Period.
I
Like I
think
know it
uh,
was tough
to answer
because of.
your question as to why he went back, if he has changed his mind, what better way to help Laurent and the others than to go back and be inside of the
Oh, you're
enemy?
going that far. Okay, okay.
I mean, I could see that thought initially, but I mean, how are you gonna show up without the people you left with? And like his, like you
Just
said,
like he
his
did.
story wasn't very convincing. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't trying too hard to like convince her of this. Like like I feel like he's got to know that he's gonna be punished
Well, yeah, you have to also
if
consider
he
the
goes
fact that we don't
back.
know the fact that we don't really know whether he's smart or not. Too, you do get
Oh,
glimpses of
oh, oh, that's so mean.
no. Well, let me be more
That's so
specific. Let me be
mean.
more specific. Okay, you know that some people I don't know who is
Rude.
tactical. Carol. Carol's pretty smart and tactical, right? she'll judge a situation before acting, except for in season 10, which is very mean of me to say. But yeah,
But not wrong.
she's generally somebody who weighs a situation down before deciding to burn it down, right? If it doesn't benefit or if people might get hurt as a result of burning it down, I won't burn it down. We don't know Codon long enough to know, or well enough to know. He's not had as much screen time to know whether he's that kind of person. So
Can I give
It
you
is
my new
it is fair.
analysis?
maybe he's thinking
It
that
is
by going back that he's smart enough to weather the storm. He's from Marseille, and I'm judging people from Marseille, and
oh my god.
maybe he maybe he's thinking, yeah, we've gotten by bigger scrapes. We can definitely get one over on Janae. And I'm on the inside. I don't know that he's
Maybe.
necessarily. I don't know if I agree with Sharon on that respect that he's
Well,
with them, but I think he could definitely think of
we
something else.
you're absolutely right. We haven't he hasn't been on screen long enough to for us to get a really good idea of who he is. And it's fair to say that Caro was acting emotionally in season 10, which is what we're seeing which is what we're seeing from Cadrone. He's acting very emotionally trying
Yeah,
to avenge his brother.
yeah.
Like
Throughout.
he's emotionally driven.
Yeah, I
So
wanted to say that.
maybe he does have a more um tactical head about him when he's not acting emotionally.
Maybe,
I
but
have a new analysis of Cadron.
But we don't see
okay.
enough of him.
Well,
I
let's not
agree.
forget to mention the fact that when Daryl was burning his hand on the burner, which, by the way, interesting that that is a thing, that it was not only aggressive, but it was also burner. He was like, yeah, yeah, Daryl's getting hurt. Yeah. Urgh." It was like his face was, it was great, but it was also a
Yeah.
little scary. But anyway, so I wanted people to have that fresh in their mind to see the kind of Cadron that we've been seeing throughout the whole series, first of all.
Either way, we
Yes.
met him at in the show right as he was discovering that the worst thing, or maybe the second worst thing that ever happened to him, had just happened to him. And we saw him acting only based off of the fact that his brother just died. Every single thing that we did, that we he did, that we saw him do, was based off of,
For that.
I'm pissed off, my brother's dead, I need to avenge him. He gets in front of them and he's watching, everybody. He just watched Isabel get stabbed. They're telling him to shoot Laurent, and he's finally having that moment of clarity, like, what in the hell have I been doing? Like, helping them chase this child down who's innocent, and like, why? Like, you know
And
what I mean?
killing someone in the abstract is also a lot different than being face to face with them and gonna shoot him point blank in the face.
Mm-hmm.
It's
There's
almost
a lot of difference to that.
which is
Think
kind of what we're thinking about in World War, one of the World War II, I think it was mostly. It's one thing to bomb them from the sky. It's another thing to storm the beaches and kill them in person.
Mm-hmm.
well,
To,
I mean, up until World War I, most wars were hand to hand
right.
combat. Like
In
there was,
formations.
yeah. Now then, World War I introduced tanks and and planes where you could bomb people and never even see who you were bombing. Just
Trench
drop a
warfare
bomb,
too, yeah.
trench warfare. Yeah, very mechanized. Up until then, it was mostly hand to hand. You were looking at the person you were getting ready to stab to death with a sword or a pike.
Mm-hmm.
Or halberd. But
Yeah.
so there's one more thing that you should consider, and I wish they honed in on it a little bit more. Do you remember what Stefan Codon's brother's name was?
Michael,
Right,
basically
Michel.
Michel.
Where
Mm-hmm.
where is the nest?
Mom say Michel,
Mon
but
Saint
Mont
he
Saint
didn't
Michel.
know
Michel.
that. He didn't know that until after he saved him,
No,
though.
but it's interesting how something in him, or maybe seeing the situation, got him to stop. And because he did, he picks up the watch and realizes it's good that I stopped because the nest is in the same as Mont Saint Michel. It's my brother's name. Maybe there's a connection there too, in a sense. Maybe it's great. It's good that I spared this child. I think that, if anything, that was the thing that may be the thing. If Sharon, if you're right, maybe the thing that tipped him over to their side
Well, I
completely.
was just thinking of the woman that he comforted at um I can't remember the place where they met Falu
Oh,
and
Sonia.
everything, Sonia.
Was it Sonia?
And all he did was
Yeah.
go up and talk to her. And maybe that's the same thing that happened with Cadron is remember what Laurent says was she said I made her feel loved. And so maybe when he said that to Cadron, God loves you, and he was looking at him, maybe Cadron felt loved in that moment and decided that he wasn't going to do that.
Yeah. No,
And
I
it changed his heart. It
Beautiful.
changed his heart.
it like like Pharaoh, it softened his heart. Finally. After
I
feeling so much rage.
Bridget wants to say something.
I want to think
No,
that
you know
that's it.
what?
I do
I'm going
want
to
to
keep
think that
talking
that's
over
it.
her. I'm kidding. I'm very
That's
spicy
fine.
today.
I'm going to talk over you. Um, I do want to think that that's it because I want to root for Cadron. You know, I want to root for him. But here's the other side of this. Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
play devil
Okay.
advocate on this.
You're being
He
me.
did take the watch.
Mm-hmm.
Which
That's what
has their
made me think that,
location.
by the way. Yeah.
It has their
Yeah, but
location. He did take it. Well, here's the thing. He took it. He went back with a really crappy excuse, and he didn't really bother to like hide that he was lying. Okay, so maybe it's less about I feel for these people and I want them to live, and more I fight with honor, and this is dishonorable, and so I will give them a fighting chance. I feel like that's a possibility too. Like
Mm-hmm.
because he says next time, Dixon, and he
Okay.
means that.
I want to hit on that a little bit more because do you remember my reaction when he said that? I
No.
said, "Why next time? Why not now? Let the
Oh,
kid
yeah,
go
that's
with
right.
Isabel and Sylvie. Kill Dixon now. Why are you letting him go?
It
Why?
reminded me
Because he's
of
on the ground and he's
Daryl
So
pitiful.
what?
with
Better
with a
better to
certain
shoot him.
so, like
someone.
I said, because it made him feel Daryl was protecting this boy just like he tried to protect his
Yeah.
brother. And
Yeah,
it
I
just made
guess.
him, I can't do this right now. I can't do
Why did
this right
Daryl
now.
give a second chance to Dwight?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
He did the same thing with Dwight.
Sharon, you softened my
Not
heart.
now, but if you come back, I will kill you.
Okay, Bridget, you
Yeah.
softened my heart too.
Yeah.
Jeez, you have to follow so closely to Sharon
Yep.
D. I'm gonna pitch you guys against each other. Hopefully, it works.
No.
Let's read some comments. Well, Lonnie says chain together, work together. Lol. Come on, okay. I don't know what these reference because we waited too long. Josh Pineda says from Facebook, I said, I love when Daryl threw the zombie head. Yes, perfect. It was perfect. Did you notice that throughout that maybe he and Quinn, or maybe just Daryl, was noticing, isn't this a lot like a wrestling match? Isn't this? If you give the crowd what it wants, they'll cheer you on. And case in point,
Oh,
as soon as
yeah.
they use
Oh,
the, not even when they use the pouvoir flag to put the one walker down, right? It's when
Jan-
it's when they both
Jan-
decapitate the last walker that was
Mm-hmm.
they were having a hard time hitting the head on because it had a steel yarmulke,
did.
which I wrote in my notes. The two of them, by the way, the last two had a steel yarmulke because Quinn's whacking away at that one, and he's like, "Huh, I can't seem to do it." But when they decapitate
But
that
he
third
keeps
one,
trying.
I know, it's just.
Janae
But wait,
forgot.
let me just finish my one thing. When they decapitate it, you notice roar, Dixon, Dixon, and then he has to cap it off by throwing the walker, and they really were cheering him on. Anyway, yes, go on.
Janae forgot that crowds are fickle.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
She forgot that they will not do what you expect every time. All
Yep.
he had to do was do something heroic.
They
And
were there for entertainment and they were
Yeah.
entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you not entertained?
On that note, I wrote specifically this in my notes because Janae's not wrong about giving the crowd what they want, which is a story, which is an us versus them story, which is what most people respond to. Two sides. I'm rooting for this side. Carol versus Connie, Donnie, and Rashone somewhere on the side for some reason. Who cares about them for now? We're talking about Daryl and Carol. But that's what most people root for. Most people like football teams. But what people like more, what the stories that people like more, I'm right, you're wrong. See? Two sides. But what people like more are a story of two enemies cooperating to find a common ground against a greater enemy. And so when you see these underdogs trying to do something here and save themselves, cooperate to save themselves equally, like America and the Brits, because Daryl's definitely American. And even though it's not clear what Quinn is, he sounds British. And what better representation of that level of allyship as World War II and all that stuff, and Normandy, and that theme keeps coming up. Then these two people working together who ostensibly shouldn't because one was a former colony of the other. Interesting.
I was getting ready to say, in that case, it should be a Daryl and Isabel up against everybody else because England. I mean, during the Revolution, it was France and America against England. So, you know,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
wow. How the turns
Just
of
saying.
turntables
How the
have.
turntables have turned.
Speaking
I
of
did want to
vinyl,
mention that this was really
Oh,
We're
Frankie.
wait, hold on. Was that
Poor
Frankie? I didn't hear that.
Frankie.
I
Oh,
thought it was Travis again, or
Frankie.
maybe it's Frankie asking for dinner
It's
now.
Frankie.
You just can't get away from the
She's
dinner
just-
conversation.
She's desperate for attention.
She's
She's
like,
happy
"Mom,
I was
her
gonna
mom's
say-
home.
Yeah, I was gonna say this really reminded me of Merle and Daryl having to fight in the arena at
Hmm.
Oh,
Woodbury.
damn you!
Mhm.
And they were also shackled together, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got
yeah.
that same vibe,
Yeah.
except those walkers didn't have any teeth. These
did not
walkers
have
had
teeth.
sharpened teeth.
And we're faster, and we're burners. Let's not forget that too. Which is, I
I-
called it. I didn't want it to be true at all. I would
I
rather
saw,
have been wrong.
I saw a little Walking Dead. Well, at least I thought it was a Walking Dead callback when Daryl's walking to the boat and he passes the lone walker in the tree. It made me think
On the
of
way to the
Shane.
cemetery?
Yeah, it made me think of Shane seeing the lone walker walking through the field on the original show.
Which came up
Oh.
every now and again too,
Mhm.
throughout the seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lone walker. Yeah, that was Daryl's version of the lone walker.
Lois.
Yeah, 8.
Hey,
Hi,
Lois.
Lois.
Lois, hi. I know you said hi earlier. I'm sorry, Lois, but you're the one who didn't come on time.
David's doing a really bad job of reading the comments, so I
Yeah.
don't know what's gotten into him.
You know,
Bridget, what was
I have
it that
all
you
the
said wait
jobs.
for you for? I can't remember.
David's saving all
Oh.
the spice for us. He doesn't
Nice
have
job.
any left for the audience.
Bridget, you wanted to talk about something specific earlier on in the episode that you wanted to wait for us to talk about. Can I,
I
just?
thought it was the shipper stuff.
Mm-mm. It
No,
was,
I don't. It was something else.
'Cause
But you
Dang
know
you
what?
said later. I
I,
want to talk about
I
it later.
said, I can't
What
remember.
was
It
your
was,
point? I thought you.
yeah,
Well, actually, do you
I thought I would too.
think about it for a second? But do you agree that people do prefer two enemies, quote unquote, or two opposing sides cooperating to find fight a greater evil over
I
a
know what it
football fight? See this? I knew it. But like, as opposed to two enemies having at it, like us versus them. Do you think that's more of a stirring tale?
I don't know. I don't think it matters.
I mean, as far as like
Kofi
a
supporter
show,
tipped $4.
Yes, but
So-
that's
so-
not what happens in real life.
Lois just tipped
But-
us $4, by the way. Thank you, Lois.
Thank you, Lois.
Thank you,
That's very sweet of
Lois.
Thank
you.
you, Lois.
We got Nicholas on the screen.
Yeah,
He said-
those kind of situations like will get me in the feels, right? Like two people who should not like each other. Crying babies.
Takira, you risk your life,
woo.
but I know you
That
have
was
to.
quick.
I know you have to get your babies. That's fine.
Oh yeah.
But okay, but is there a but?
That kind of a situation gets me. Well, I mean, not really. Yeah. When I'm watching a show and I see two people who like hate each other, but then they come together to like solve a problem. Yeah, I mean that definitely gets me in the feels because it's not something you see in reality ever. That's not real life.
It's a rare
So-
moment when you do.
So when you
though.
see it happen, it's like I can't think of a time that's ever happened in real life ever.
Oh, jeez, Louise. It sounded bad.
So it's a feel good moment
Yeah.
when you get to see it on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's even more significant when it happens in real life. When two people who are sworn enemies
If
partner
I
up.
ever see that happen, I will let you know.
I've had moments like that in grade school. Yeah, I've had. I'm going to tell you this out loud. I've had guys
Here we go.
who a month ago had kicked me square in the balls just for funsies, and then because I let them do that, we were like really good friends by the end of it. It's really stupid.
What?
This is what guys do, by the way. We'll beat on each other, and then because
Such a guy
We
thing.
don't
One
have time
does
to
something
unpack
that-
all that baggage.
Well, Carl and I never came together.
the guy was a
to
bully, by
overcome
the way.
anything.
The guy was a bully. He was bullying other people. I stood up to him, and He says, "Yo, you like kicking people in the balls just for the funsies?" He and these two guys were big monsters, a grade lower than me. And then you like try kicking me in the balls. Let's see how you feel about that. Boom, I didn't react. The other one kicks me. Boom, I didn't. He didn't react. They're like putting their arm around me by the end of the day. And we're having pizza, and I was just and they're like following me like lost dogs. It was because I'm older than them too. This is fifth
That's so
grade.
much
I should
to
remind you,
unpack.
this is fifth grade, and they're in fourth grade.
So this is all the fun stuff you get to hear in the unedited recordings,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. Well, no, we've been airing this stuff, by the way. But it's the sworn
my
enemies turns
goodness.
friend situation. Like you see one
Okay.
guy picking on somebody else, you rise up and you say, "Hey, stop picking up on that guy. Pick on someone your own size." Technically, I was a
Even though
whole
you're
foot shorter than
smaller.
them. Yeah,
Oh goodness.
yeah.
All right, so cool that happened to
But it
David.
doesn't happen in world politics anyway.
Okay, Takira, is
Do
everything
you remember the
okay?
thing? Yeah, Takira.
Yes, she
Oh,
bumped her head.
Oh.
on life.
We just heard
Okay.
screaming. So yeah,
Yeah. And you also remembered the thing that Bridget wanted to talk about.
I do. Um, so not to discount the lovely Rachel and her love for Carol,
Uh-oh.
because I actually did love Carol's scene. Bridget told me I would love it, and I actually did.
Mhm.
My fear is that we have seen him like blossom being alone, and I don't want that to be
Oh,
muted by
okay.
Carol's return.
I see what you're saying. We've seen him blossom on this solo story that we've seen
Yes.
for the last 6 episodes,
Right.
and her returning to the show might over kind of like our fears with Madison, right? Coming back to Fear the Walking Dead in a sense.
Yeah.
What does that mean
You
for?
might digress.
Yeah,
Well, it was
Hmm.
actually it's my
I,
struggle with
it's a
Daryl
question.
and any romance because we lose this story of him finding himself as a person, and I don't want to lose that because this
Yeah.
is a big deal. And also, this is if we look at this from the perspective of this is a trauma victim
Daryl, right?
who yes, who has recovered from trauma and is finding like that path back to finding himself and like being able to work past all of that, all of the trauma that he endured as a kid. And it was a lot. We've only gotten little pieces of it, but it has all been horrific. I mean, his mom dying suddenly in a fire. I mean, and you lose your house when that happens.
Hmm.
On top of everything horrible
And then
else.
his dad hardly ever being around. He's drunk all the time when he is. He's mean. He burned him with cigarettes. Like this abusive relationship that he grew up in, and then he moves from that to being with his brother, and his brother forces him into stuff he doesn't want to do,
In order to
but he
survive or
doesn't know
whatever.
better, and he doesn't know how to do things on his own, so he just follows along with his brother. And it's not because he's incapable, it's because he thinks he's incapable. And we're finally at the point where we're getting to see this, like him like blossom into like a really strong person who can do things on his own and who can finally let some of that stuff go, because that's its own trauma, right? But then you pack on all of the trauma of an apocalypse. You've lost your friends, you've seen your brother killed, everybody's been eaten in front of you, so your one of your best friends was beaten to death in front of you, and his pregnant wife. It's
Glenn,
your
right?
fault.
Yeah.
And like all of that's happened. We're finally getting to the point where like he's kind of working past that. And seeing that scene at the cemetery where he finds his grandfather's tombstone, all I could think was like, you see him and he's crying, and I think it's easy to be like, why is he crying? He doesn't even know, he never met this guy.
Yeah, I wanted to
This is
talk
sad.
about that a little bit more.
But to be so far away from home and find a connection to home, how what are
Oh,
the
okay.
odds?
Hmm.
Okay.
What are the odds that that would happen? That's one in a million. That it's hard for something like that to happen and not see beyond yourself and not say, I'm here for a reason. May, it's that whole idea of like believing in something bigger than yourself, whatever that is. Now, for me, it's God. I think it would be easy to look at this and go, God does exist. Because why else am I here in this exact moment, seeing this exact thing, finding finally a connection to family that I never met?
Who's the sequence of events of which led to me being here also, for better or for worse, and for the most part for worse, but because of that I'm here to help this kid do something. So there is another, so you mentioned like everything happens for a reason. There's like another part in the story where Isabel finally fesses up to the fact that, funny enough, the drawing that Laurent prophesized about Daryl's arrival, which she just told Laurent to draw a Daryl washing up whatever, being in the sea, whatever. She's not making Laurent participate in this lie. This is without his knowledge, with his knowledge. But yes, she fesses up to the fact that she made Laurent do it because it would get him on his side. He is not mad about this. And this would be something that Daryl would typically have been pissed about. He does not like it when people lie to him. But he's about to say, I think he kind of implies that everything happens for a reason. I'm here now. Whatever it was that got me here. And I find that the symmetry between what you just said about Bill T. Dixon being, as early as his life was cut short, he was a private, by the way. It's something that's worth mentioning. This guy was very young, probably 18, maybe max 20, a private. I wrote down his designation, but it's not even that important. But there's something to having that connection that's here and being in whatever the secret sauce that led him to being here. I don't know if I necessarily believe it, but I like that it's in this story. Everything happens for a reason. And I think maybe to your point, maybe he's crying also, not just because there's a connection to home that happens to be here as well, but also, people say that we thank you for your service to servicemen. But it's such a deeper connection when you can say thank you for trying. Because in the act of you trying, however horrible things were for his widow afterwards, and however horrible things were for his father, probably as a result of his own father, his grandfather, not being there for him, it led him to being with these people, living these experiences, being here with all of us, being able to watch him thrive and grow up until the point Carol comes on the show and ruins all that. We get to see that. We get to see that. And I think that's really cool. I think it's really
That
cool.
wasn't
I'm not
Way to
saying that.
undercut
I
like
just-
an emotional
right.
moment.
No.
I'm not saying that. I just think
I'm
that
totally kidding, by the
we
way.
finally have room to
I need to
breathe.
defend
with
I think
this
there's. I'm saying
character.
this and
Yeah.
that. I'm saying
And-
this and that.
Yeah, and so it's hard. That's why I'm so adamant against like the relationship aspect of it,
Mhm.
because I
Okay.
want to see him grow,
Mhm.
and I want to see him grow as a person, as a person.
Hmm.
But
It's
why
like
can't an adult relationship add to him growing as a person?
I just think
the
in this
ability for
it
him.
could distract. But this is my frustration with like, you can be friends with people and it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
this all the time. Like, I get that people want relationships in TV shows. We're constantly shipping stuff. But I want to see the opposite of that. It's like with Isabel, where we wanted her to save herself. It's the
Mhm.
same thing.
Like,
I want him to save himself.
people have been saying all this time that, Daryl is better off alone. And I've never agreed with better off
I
alone.
don't think that's
But
true.
now that we're seeing him alone on this solo mission without all the other characters that have been in his life that he's been supporting and that have been supporting him, we're just really able to see a side to him that we would have never. Sides, right.
But Isabel is part of what's made him grow.
But
His
that doesn't mean they
relationship
need
with
to be in a relationship.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to, but I'm not against it.
Right.
Right?
I feel like Rachel
Because-
wants to say something in particular about this, don't you?
I just feel like I need to defend my girl here. I don't
Who's your
feel
girl
like
in this scenario?
Carol.
Okay,
It's Carol.
gotcha.
Always Carol.
Just want to make that very abundantly clear, like Fear the Walking Dead season 8
I
thus far.
I definitely agree. Like I've been back and forth as far as like the Daryl and Carol shipping thing. Like they have love for each other. I've said that over and over again. I personally love the relationship that they have right now. I don't think they need anything more. I don't need to see a romantic relationship between them because in my opinion, their relationship is perfect
Perfect.
the way
Yeah.
that it is. I think that they love and support each other the way two people should. I think I mean, I'm biased obviously because I want to see Carol on screen.
Oh,
But I
okay.
do
Yeah.
think
Well, same as me
I
with
mean, I
Madison.
think
I was fine with that. But
oh,
I understood. I
oh,
understood the fear. By the
you
way,
just took this beautiful moment and you shit all over it. Ew. That was disgusting.
Yeah, no, but
I was saying
listen,
these
I'm not a
beautiful
big.
things, and then you dripped that toxic, disgusting sludge all over my words.
Oh
But
my
but the
god.
comparison is apropos because many of us here are concerned that Carol's appearance would diminish the work that they've done
Okay,
with
and
Daryl alone. And I'm not saying because I
I
hate this
see.
or that. I'm just saying it's just a
No, no, no.
reality.
And I see and I recognize that concern. I think it is a valid concern. However, I'm going to say from my point of view, I think Carol, knowing Carol's character, she would embrace these new sides of Daryl and encourage the changes that he has made. I think she would be supportive of you know all the changes that he has gone through. I believe she would be supportive of that and maybe even add to it because she would validate that for him and be like, yes, this is so good for you, and then he would feel empowered to continue on this trajectory.
I should clarify, it's not like Carol is going to instantaneously
Ruin the
Right.
show
be
that we've
in
seen.
France all of a
Right.
sudden. Like,
Yeah,
Right.
I was
Right.
thinking of
like
that
it's
as you were
not.
talking, Rachel. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it's going to be a slow burn, and so hopefully we do get to see more of this. But I think really the cemetery scene had a lot to do with why I loved this episode so much.
I'm just saying, whatever he does, he needs to keep Carol away from Laurent.
Yeah, do not leave her
Aw.
alone, girl. Don't
That was.
do not do
Here's
not
what
ask her to babysit.
here's what I love. Takira, for the most part, when she speaks, it's very low. But whenever she laughs, it's like, where did that come from? Where is it? I almost
I
died.
love
My
it.
spirit left my
I
body and
love
came
it.
back. Talk about
I
religion.
love it.
Hey, I'm just kidding. No, no. Now she feels like she doesn't have. No,
No,
no, Takira. I'm just
I
making it funny. It was just. It was a little startling, but I got over it very quick. Just like
I'm-
I
Carol
saw his
coming
face.
back to
He
the
went like
show.
this.
I got over
I
it.
completely
looking-
got
agree
over it.
though. Do
I'm
not leave
looking
Carol
f-
with Laurent.
I'm looking forward to a Carol Janae beatdown next season. Gonna happen.
I just want to
Wait,
say something.
Carol and Janae.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I am so hip.
Yeah.
I'm trying so
Oh,
hard. not to
I
swear, but
saw it.
So
That's really funny.
Janae,
Actually.
Dave-
like I
Dave
thought
keeps not
Kublek-
letting me say this.
So
I
anyway,
thought
so
Kublek
Sylvie
was-
and Laurent. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
thought Kublek was
Now it's Sharon D.
like
Mhm.
the most ramrod straight by the like Janae just blows her out of the water. And like
I love that you
unintended
used
with
the word ramrod to describe
Yeah.
her. That's great. I love
Like,
that.
like
does she have a
J-
backbone like a
Janae-
ramrod?
Yes, that's part of it. She's gonna ramrod her way through whatever she wants. Janae, I really, really love her. Like I cannot even express how much I love Janae.
I
Oh,
got some serious CRM vibes in that last
Yes.
little speech she gave to Cadrone too.
Dave, the truck that they're in front of, the
quit.
Mansouri,
Mansouri? Yeah.
it made me
quit.
think of Alexa Mansour.
I'm turning
right?
my mic off.
Why? What happened? Oh, because you want to say something and Sharon keeps cutting you off? Well, look at her face. She's very animated. And also leopardy, because she has a rainbow leopardy tank. She knows I love her and I pay attention. But yes, Mansouri,
Okay,
yes,
Takira's
Alexa
turn.
Mansour from The Walking Dead World
Alexa
Beyond,
Mansour,
who
yeah.
played Hope on that series. Which, by the way, in case people want to know, Mansour is an Arabic word. It's also, but it's an Arabic word, and it means to whom victory belongs, as well. So I thought that was
Okay.
kind of cool too. And
Okay, it's
Mansuri
Takira's turn.
means of Mansour. So anyway,
She was just
Takira,
hanging with
Turn.
Cassidy. with
Takira,
Lindsay,
leave
by
the
way.
show. No, I'm kidding. Takira, what was it that you wanted to talk? Oh, I saw that too, Bridget. Sorry.
Oh, you're muted, baby.
You're
You're
muted,
muted.
baby. You got all flustered and you decided to mute, which is very
Did it
considerate.
to herself.
Kudos, by the way. She didn't
I've
risk
been
her
trying to
life.
say it for so long that we've bypassed it like 8 times, and I still can't get it out. I was
Sounds like me
just
on the
trying to
toilet.
say 2 things, and then I'm done with the shipping. One, Isabel considers herself a nun, so I will not respect her the same way if she decides to be in a relationship with Daryl. Number 2, I just want to say that the 4 people that they like to use as love people for Daryl, he literally looks at all of them in completely different ways.
Who are the 4 people? Just to make it very clear.
Isabel, Carol, Connie, Leah. I've never seen him look at them in the same way. Like he has specific ways that he interacts
That's
with
fair.
each of them, and it's
I agree.
completely different.
It's like any of us, isn't it? If we reacted the
mean,
same way
yeah,
to each other, it'd be sick.
We
It would be
love
kind of
people
gross.
the different. We love people in different ways.
I
Even,
just, they
even
like
romantic love looks
is
different
yeah.
in
With
each
different people.
relationship.
Absolutely.
I just don't like that they like to get lumped together, and I don't think that they should be at all.
Yeah.
I think
Mom, sister, aunt, and dead.
The 4 love interests, possible love interests, maybe. I love how you said
He's
mom.
from
You-
Georgia, not Alabama.
First of all, Sharon, do you realize if people did not get what you said, hopefully they don't, those people would be like, Mom, are you kidding me? That whole argument about Carol being the mom figure.
Who
Ooh.
said it was Carol? Isabel's the nun. Mother
Yeah,
Isabel.
mother.
Mother
Oh,
Isabel.
Mary Mother.
Oh, that's sister, not mother. Anyway. I'm gonna eat
No,
shit for this,
sister
aren't I?
is Connie.
You don't deal with the.
Carol's the aunt.
So listen. Okay, so
Carol's the cool aunt that brings you presents.
I feel like we're at the
Christmas.
Republican debates where,
Yeah.
like, so Takira, you said something. Now I have to respond to it. Now I get 30 seconds. I get 30 seconds, right? Okay, listen.
Somebody start the
I
timer.
yield my time to the chair.
Please, thank you. I need all the time I can get for this one because
This is part of your.
and
30
I think
seconds.
Sharondy's on the same page as me. You were saying, and
you're out of time now.
I get it. So Sharondy and Rachel had both said at different points of the time in the show that she's a nun. It's gross in reference to Quinn, but also in reference to people wanting Daryl and Isabel to be together. And I have to say to that, and I've said this, there's a whole lot of supposed tos. Like, she's not supposed to, and he's not supposed to, in a world where supposed tos don't exist. Okay?
I don't
Y'all are
give a crap
sus. Y'all
she's a
have
nun.
agendas, your own little ships, and I know it, and I say, and even you, Rachel, is evolved as you have continued to evolve on the Carol and Daryl situation. Every now and again, I hit like this nerve that it's like a Texas oil drill. I hit it and it just goes.
Okay.
Lauren
so,
Ridloff has her own show, and it's not in France, so this has nothing to do with
Okay.
the ship.
There's nothing to do with it. You know
No.
it is, and you're like, she's a nun. She's not supposed to do that. I'm like, it's happening, girl, and you better be
as-
ready.
as far as shipping Daryl and Isabel, I'm with Bridget in the sense that just because there's a male and female character on the screen together, you don't have to shove them together
I agree with that.
as a couple, right? So
Right.
one of the things I loved about Ted Lasso was they didn't make Rebecca and Ted a couple.
Right.
That was great. And I don't hate that they're putting them together in a ship. I don't hate it. If they didn't do it, that would be fine too.
I agree.
But if they're gonna do it, that's fine too. Why shouldn't Daryl have love if he's got brotherly love and sisterly love and friend love? Why shouldn't
yeah,
he
I
be
want
allowed
him
to
to
have
be
the
happy.
romantic love too?
Yeah,
I
and
want him to be happy. I don't want anybody to think for a minute that that's like I'm rooting for him to be miserable or anything. I'm not.
I don't.
I mean, I see what you guys are saying, that you want him to keep being his own person instead of going by what everybody in the group tells him to do, because that's kind of what happens for the most part. Everybody in the group tells him what to do. But I don't
Do
feel
you-
like Carol is going to come over and start telling him what to do.
oh yeah, no, it's irrespective.
And I
you
don't
of
feel
how
like
I that.
Isabel will either.
And here's the thing,
Do you remember?
I think him. I really what you were saying about him.
I'd like to remember.
trying. No, not yet. I would like to erase whatever it is you're trying to remember, so I can get this out. I think Bridget, it's because I'm concerned about Daryl's mental health. I actually said this in a Reddit post in response to like the Redditor was actually saying something very, very considerate. And it was, why is everybody so against Daryl having a love interest on this show? Because most people don't want him to be in a relationship, period. Hold on, put your hand down. Because I was like that for the longest time. I was like you. Because just like you, isn't his, he has a whole other set of Arrested Development mental issues as well at the time. And this is the last thing he needs, is what people tend to think. And I was one of those people too. Narratively, it also works too, because if the longer you can have him go without being in a relationship, the longer you have people on the hook to try to get him to be in a relationship, which gets people watching. Like the Carol and Daryl, will they, won't they, for so many
The will they,
goddamn
won't
years.
they.
Right.
And I can
So,
tell you, once
that's
people
entertaining.
do, once the will they, won't they becomes a will they,
Yeah.
the shows tend, like, look at Moonlighting. Moonlighting was great until they actually got Maddie and David together, and
Oh,
then it
Mork
went
and Mindy
downhill.
also,
Mork and Mindy.
which is why I like the
Cheers.
reference.
Once they got Sam and Diane together, it was never as good
It
as
was
it
a
was
different show.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was the
always happens when they
tension.
have, right. It's the tension that makes it exciting.
And it's not even the tension that's there necessarily, but the tension that we look, it's the tension that we put there. Because other than that one moment in season 211 was it? I don't know. At 211, 3 something. I don't know what it was though. You want to go fool
I
around,
think
but
it was the first. It was either 201 or 202.
yeah, whatever it was, it's
Yeah.
like want to fool around, and then from then
Yeah.
on, it was annoying. Okay.
So,
Okay.
do you
12 years, 10 years, 12 years.
Do you guys? Everybody remembers when.
Well,
Glenn
wait. I
and
wanted to
first
make
started their-
one specific
Oh my
point.
God, you're still going.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Are you trolling right now, Dave?
I mean, really,
No.
Dave.
I want to make this one. I'm wrapping this in a bow. We've got to see Daryl grow, especially on this journey with Isabelle Laurent and everybody else, and learn to connect on a deeper level with himself than we've ever seen him before. We've got to see more sides of him. We got to see him resolve underlying issues in his character that have not been addressed in any other show except for this one. And so to watch that, well, what is the next step? I've always said he should grab the ring. He needs to start living for himself rather than for other people, to want for himself and not for what other people want or what other people thinks he should want. Part of that is moving into this next level of being with someone that makes him feel more like himself, or being with someone that it engenders that or encourages that. And if that is Isabel, I'm for that. That's another I want to see this guy be happy. I want to see this guy living for himself. And that's part of the equation. Anyway, sorry. That's all I wanted to say about that.
Okay.
It's
I don't-
for his
I
mental
think-
health.
I think.
That's
I
all
think
he
Daryl.
wants.
I think Daryl would be perfectly fine. On his own. I don't think he is longing for this relationship status with anybody else.
No,
to be totally
right,
honest. So
right.
do you remember? Shush.
I can't even
So
agree
do
with
you?
No.
Let me finish. So do you remember when Glenn and Maggie first took up their thing way back when, right? And the first time Glenn went out after that and they got into that shootout at the bar and he hid. And he told Maggie he got mad at her, right? And he's like, I hid because all I could think about was you. I would be afraid that Daryl would almost feel the same way. If he had a romantic person in his life, would that change his outlook on anything? Would he start fighting for this person or taking less risk or being overly cautious for this person? Like I am fully fine with him and Carol for that matter, if I'm being totally honest. Like if they never have a romantic relationship and it's just this beautiful thing that they have between them right now, I would be so on board for that. I'm afraid of what a romantic relationship would do for him and his survival.
But didn't we
Me
get
too.
that answer in this episode?
No.
Mm-mm.
Let me refresh your
Well,
memory.
he survived Leah.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
That's great, and leave that. That's another piece. But the thing that he feared the most, which was I don't know about fear the most, but he had that dream at the beginning of the 2 episodes ago. I think it was the third episode. Paris c'est toujours Paris? No, it was the next one. Okay,
Oh,
so
with Laurent.
Yeah, and how he wasn't
Uh,
able to get to him. He was behind. You see that in this episode today. He couldn't help
yeah.
Isabel, but by extension, help Laurent help Isabel. And so he does this thing where he says, "You're strong enough. Do it. Do it." Like, first of all, he's yelling at the kid, but in a more positive manner of, "You can do it. Do it. Save
You
Isabel.
can do
Do
it.
it."
Yeah.
Right? That, I
Mhm.
think that goes to your concerns, is that he's not afraid of putting that trust in that somebody else can do it for themselves or do it for other people, and it doesn't always have to be him. And that maybe come what may, we all cast our lot in this world, and we have so much time in this world. And so yes, maybe there'll be moments where he does more than maybe he normally would on these shows to help somebody that he loves romantically, but that's life, right? We all have preferences. We all have kids. Some of us have kids. We might prefer them over other people that they definitely care about. But that's the kinds of Sophie's Choice situations that everybody's put. Hopefully, not everybody's put under, but we is more often put under on these shows. So hey, I don't want it
I,
either, but it's gonna
I
exist.
guess my
I,
bigger point is I just don't care to see him in a romantic relationship with anyone.
Yeah,
I'd
because
be
we're
Yeah.
perfectly
selfish,
fine if
and
that didn't
it's my
happen.
show. It's my
but
show.
see,
I
I
want what
hate
I
to
Um,
think
want.
of, I hate to think of him being alone. Like,
Yes, me too.
sitting
I do too.
sure, dog is great, and I talk a lot of shit about dog and Daryl, but
Yeah,
the truth is Daryl doesn't. Why shouldn't he be able to have someone to come home to at night, right? If you're gonna survive, you got to survive for love, and if you don't, I mean, he has friends to love, but that's not the same thing. It's not the
right.
No,
same
Like
it's
thing.
not. I
love.
agree with
It's
you.
not
boom
the same
chicka
thing
bow
as
bow.
coming home and hugging someone that you love.
Daryl survived Leah, but about 25 other people didn't.
All the more reason.
I'm
All
I'm
the more
still
reason to
salty.
celebrate.
I'm still salty about Leah, so I don't.
I love how this series in a way does. Going back to that point because it must be reiterated. I love how this series in a way honors Leah, that the fact that he can't step into the light when it comes to a romantic thing, or refuses to acknowledge that possibility, almost heralds to his relationship with Leah. I like it.
In this world, it's almost, I mean, it's a huge, I mean, it's always a risk to fall in love with somebody, but like
In the
in
Walking
this
Dead
world,
universe.
in the Walking Dead universe, it's an even bigger risk because like you don't know how, I mean, what, you don't know how long you have with this person. Like what happens if they die and then you feel responsible? I don't know. I just I can fully understand the hesitancy like of not wanting
Hmm.
that in this world.
Like if you're Daryl, sure.
Or Carol. I mean, when she went into isolation, I get it. I get it, girl. Like if I'm not
Wait,
around
get it, girl,
anybody
or
and
I
I
get it,
can't
girl?
get her, I get it. Like
And
if you're not around anybody, they're not getting hurt. I'm not getting, like I just have to worry about myself. I don't have to worry about anybody. Like I understand that. I get it.
and it's totally unfair that he was supposed to have a canon relationship, and Angela Kang decided they didn't have time because
With
Lauren went to
Connie?
the
Oh, right.
Eternals.
Hey, listen, you snooze, you
Not
lose.
fair.
Like Juno says, you snooze, you lose. And then you get punched in the face again by Daryl. Irony, thy name is Daryl's Fist.
What do you mean you didn't have time? They had time.
That's something that I actually did write in that Reddit post as a comment. I said, why not? Like, why couldn't all of them be possible love interests? But here's the thing, you only have so much time in life. And like anybody in life, you got to shoot your shot. And when you don't shoot your shot, sometimes you don't get that shot again. And if that's Connie, listen, I'm being real right with you, Takira, right now. When Connie showed up, I was all about that life, okay, with them together. But when I saw him speed off on that motorcycle, I know we're beating a dead horse, but I was a little concerned because first of all, Connie also she not proud to the point of being a bragger, but she's a proud woman, a smart,
Mm-hmm.
proud woman, and she's not going to wait around for Daryl.
Right.
You feel like she might, but you know that she won't. And he's
Yeah.
been gone a long time. But like anything, that thing with Carol didn't shoot a shot. Connie didn't shoot a shot, and it may be too late. It may be too late.
Do you think that maybe he feels, um, because he obviously knows that there were drugs and such in Isabel's past because of what he saw at the apartment, right? So do you think maybe he feels a little more comfortable and a little more in tune with Isabel because they have the same kind of past, including drugs and crime and not being the most savory people?
What a thing to have in common. But yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think if
I didn't think
anything,
about
it's
that.
like there's more to you than you're allowing other people to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that he connected with that necessarily because he always said like the drugs weren't his. Like he was around it, but it wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
It
Right,
was
but what I'm
Merle.
saying is they had the same background. Like I'm not saying he was
Yeah,
doing the drugs,
yeah, no,
but
I
he
get what
was
you're
in that
saying.
world and she was in that world. Now, granted, they were two very different criminal worlds. She was in a much more upper class, glitzy type setting, and he was in Georgia. So
Rural
He was
Georgia
in
on
yeah,
top of that.
rural Georgia.
that's only a few miles away from Florida. Okay,
Whoa,
just
which
saying.
is all rural, what you're saying, except for Miami, maybe. Wow, wow. Guess Charity tells us how we really feel, but I
I'm
get it.
not saying hi to Thomas because he's being extra mean.
Thomas is here. I think I blocked him.
We're fighting.
By the way,
Thomas is here.
we
Hi,
got to,
Thomas.
we got to meet up
What's
with
he
Thomas
doing?
over the weekend too. It was great. It was great to hang out with him at was it? I'm not gonna blow the no. Fuck it. Bar 9. Well, I see. I swore now too.
Yeah.
Are
Bad
Josh and
language.
Jason the same person?
No, but they're both on Facebook. Hey, Josh
Because you guys
Pineda.
keep
Hey,
leaving at the same
Jason
time
Cohn. Glad you came
and
back.
coming back at the same time. and
Well, because
leaving at
they
the
finished
same
watching
time.
the Dead Truth podcast, and so they
Are
they
you
knew
guys
it'd
the
still be
same? Are you
on.
the same person?
Walking Dead
No, they're not the same
Eternal.
person. Definitely not.
That's a heart for Connie.
Oh, and by the way, we should acknowledge the fact that Walking Dead Eternal is planning on maybe doing a stream on the Walking Dead universe, and he invited all of us.
Yeah.
He gave us an open invitation to join. So now it's official. Now we said it
Aw.
out loud. Now you
Oh,
have
that
to.
was
That's the
nice.
thing.
Can't take
So
it back.
sorry, you can't take it back. I'm not. There's no editing. There's no editing at this part right now. So yeah. Well, hi, Thomas.
Oh, they're not the same person.
We're fighting.
Not
That's-
the same person. Now they're fighting with each
someone
other.
would claim if they were lying about
They
being the
couldn't
same
look more
person.
different, by the way. Jason and Jason, and Josh, by the way. Age difference, build, it's a whole thing.
You can stop there, David.
No, I can keep going. Well, just look them up. Anyway, I don't know if there's a terrible amount. Like, okay, so there's
That's good because I got 10 minutes left in me.
the Sophie Hunger song that appears right before they reach the nest. Sophie Hunger does a cover. And these are all French people, so you wouldn't know them anyway, right? Linda, who's gonna watch
I
this later, was from
loved
France.
that song.
So
I loved that song.
It was originally composed by Noir Désir, so Black Desire. And Sophie Hunger covers this song, but she does it in a different mood too. It's called Le Vent nous portera, okay, which means I have a lot of notes on this episode. The wind will carry us, and essentially what it boils down to is that come what may, life doesn't give a crap. And it doesn't give a crap about your genes, who you're related to, who your blood relatives are, what relationships you have. Eventually, all those things fade away, except for the people who remember you when you're gone. Right? Dust will blow all the things that you did away, all the things you thought would make you legendary in the eyes of all the people. But at the end of the day,
I thought
you'll-
you meant denim.
I kind of wish you were here when we recorded this, and I hit you on the head because I'm not beyond violence. I'm kidding. Of course, I abhor violence. Of
I think
course.
that we should let Rachel talk about her favorite ladies scene before she goes.
Who's the favorite lady
My
in
what?
this scenario?
Carol.
Carol.
Oh,
The
well, I
scene,
guess
the
we can go that way.
scene.
Do you know what I said? So Rachel, I was in the room, and there's bad reception at Comic-Con because there's so many people recording and sending messages and everybody's picking off the tower.
The Book of
I
Carol.
tried to send during the live stream. My exact quote was, "Rachel is going to shit her pants" when I saw the end of the episode because I was
Language,
like,
I
"Sorry,
did get very excited.
she's gonna
We are
poop
the
her
cursing
pants."
dead.
when did you
Is that a swear word?
when did you hear the Book of Carol Rachel, the Book of Carol was a thing. When did you hear about that? Today, when you got on?
At the beginning of this
That's amazing.
live feed.
That's amazing. Proof positive that you won't get all your your information from social
I
media.
wish I wasn't getting
No.
spoiled.
I
don't.
think
Exactly.
I think we need to give Rachel a minute to talk about her Face of Horror competition and
You know,
encourage
Yes.
everybody to
I
go
meant
vote for
to.
Rachel.
But then Takira interrupted me in the beginning. He says that thing, and I forgot. I even forgot what it was that you were interrupting me about.
Rachel was right.
Let me tee you up, Rachel, because Rachel.
Was.
Okay, supposedly because everybody's in first place at the Face of Horror competition, apparently, right? But it's basically like 10,000 little groups, and Rachel has
Yeah.
so far have gone through unscathed, and she's in the next of 10,000 rounds, I think, and she's still in first place, which is great.
I'm not actually.
What I made sure
I'm
that you
in
were.
I'm in second place.
She
Oh
bumped
my
down to
God.
second.
What?
What a scam!
I'm in second place right now. So
Yeah, Brian
this
is in
a-
first, I think.
In
well,
his group,
Brian and I are in separate groups.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was in first, and then I got bumped down a second. So I'm in the Face of Horror competition. I'm trying to win some money and the chance to be in the Rue magazine
Rue Morgue, right?
photo shoot. Rue Morgue. Yeah, sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Rue Morgue magazine for a photo shoot with Kane Hodder, which is awesome. Um, so you can go to my Facebook and I
Instagram.
think I have it pinned on Instagram. And you can go vote for me. You can vote once every single day. Um, so
You
yeah,
can
do
also,
that
I'm not
so
going
that
to
I
say it
can
because Rachel's not
continue
going
on.
to. I'm going to say it because Rachel won't. You can also buy votes.
Yeah,
You
which is
can.
what I've been doing. So, by the way,
Yeah.
if you verify your account using a credit card, every vote counts as 2 votes.
Right.
It
That's what I've
doesn't
been
charge you
doing.
anything at all,
No, that's
No.
what I've been doing is the 2 votes.
but I've
Yep.
been doing a little extra too, just because
This is true.
I'm a
David
big
has
jerk.
made donations to the foundation that this competition is supporting as well. So
The
it's
be
not like you're
positive.
just sending money to you're not just like filling somebody's pocket. Like this is going to a really, really great foundation. So if you do donate, those count as extra votes towards
Right.
for me as well.
Also, there's a trick, and if you sign up for them to email you, so when you do it like through, because I have your link pinned to the top of my Facebook page. So when you go through there, you have to either verify with Facebook or a credit card, right?
Uh-huh.
If you have them email you, you get 2 more free extra votes when you click on Rachel.
Ooh,
Oh, okay,
I did
okay.
not know about that.
Yeah.
If you have them,
That's
if you sign up
exciting.
for email alerts,
Yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay, yeah. Occasionally, they also have 2 for 1. So
So I think there's 3 more rounds after this, but if I don't finish in first for the current round that I'm in, I get cut. So I have to be
Right,
first in
in your
this
group.
round or I don't move on to the next group.
So do your thing, do the things,
So,
people.
yeah.
Get on
Really,
it,
really,
people.
really help.
So,
Listen, as
Share
much as
it
I
in
want
your
to,
stories. Share it in your stories. Share it on your Facebook.
And if you know my Facebook page, you can get to it very easily because it's pinned right to the top.
Yep.
Yep.
And
I
if you
have it pinned
go
on my
if you
Facebook
go
too.
through the same method that you used, you don't have to because like if you go through a different method than you used the first time, you have to do the credit card Facebook thing over again. But if you
Yeah.
use the same method every time, you don't have to redo it.
right, if you
which I
log in,
discovered.
if you
Right.
create a login
Right.
too
Yeah.
Yep.
in your browser. So keep voting for Rachel. Listen, I usually don't like to play sides. I'm not that kind of person, but I'm doing it because I think Rachel needs a break.
We also have some other family members that
Yeah,
are in the
we're not-
competition.
I would
So
totally
if your
trash them
votes
right
go
now
that direction,
to make
I'm
you
not gonna
win. No, I
not
know
gonna
you
hold it
won't, but I
against-
will.
I'm not gonna hold it against you.
yeah.
No. We're all
Don't vote
family,
for
and
Brian. Vote for Rachel.
If I don't win, I want it to be Brian.
You know, me too.
I've
But
actually known like 4 people in this competition.
yeah,
Yeah,
we know
I
we know
have-
quite a
I
few
have
people.
two.
Yeah, but it's you all the way. I'm sorry. I'm playing favorites because you're the host and you're one of my best friends. So there you go.
Okay, so with my
Tough
last
shit.
2 minutes,
Tough ass.
I love you. I'll forgive you all your spiciness
Please
tonight.
do.
With my last 2 minutes, I want to tell you how very, very excited I was to see Carol's boots step out of that car, and Silas will attest because he was watching it with me, and I'm like, is it as soon as the car pulled up and he shot at it, I'm like, oh, 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 and the car door opened and her boots went down and I said, and I went, ooh, it is, and I got
That
super super excited.
it was just like Laura and Naomi June stepping out of the car in season 4
Oh
with the
yeah,
tennis
with the
shoes.
yeah,
The tennis
yep,
shoes. I
yep.
said
I
I
got
knew that
very
was Carol right
excited.
away. I was like, oh, that's Carol.
I
Me
think we
too.
all
Yep,
kind
I
of
knew right away.
were teed up
And
for
then
that.
this guy with the gun in her face, and I'm like, bruh, no, this
Right.
is not gonna end well for you.
I love how he said
Dennis,
it too. He said sort
I,
of. He said
I was
just
watching
right
it on the
there.
TV. I was watching it up on the big TV today, and I caught Dennis watching it behind me, and he was at that part, and I turned around and went, "You don't mess with Carol." He's like, "I see that."
By the way,
Nope, you do not mess with
if
Carol.
you recognize the motorbiker guy, his name is Paul
I was a
Zeiss.
bit distracted.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I know. Which is on second watch, if you're lucky enough to get a second
Okay,
watch,
okay.
right, Rachel? The
Fat
actor's
chance.
name is I just said it right now, is Paul Zeiss, right? And if you may have recognized him as, I think he was background on Mayans MC. It's like talk about people who came over from Sons of
Oh.
Oh,
Anarchy,
okay.
right? Because
Okay.
Mayans MC is like a spinoff of.
It's
It's like
in
it's the
that
Fear the
universe.
Walking Dead
Yep.
of Sons of Anarchy.
It is. It
And
really is.
obviously, we got Opie from there. Opie being Beta, obviously one named person. So it's just interesting that there's a little bit of crossover from that
Yeah.
show. So yeah, I also thought it was kind of goofy, right? This interaction between these two people, like like okay, obviously she's gonna get something over this guy, as threatening as he is. But also, she was a little aggressive. She's coming up on this guy's rear really fast, really hard.
Oh.
You know,
Well, he had Daryl's bike.
I was trying to
Yeah.
but I was trying to look at the perspective, what is for all he know. And then he said, "Let me after I take all your stuff." And I'm like, okay, now you just screwed up.
Now you.
You
Yep.
just screwed up. You could have just left it alone. You would have been fine. But now Carol's got to burn your house down and your
He
face and
didn't know
body.
who he was. I was just waiting for her to drop the rosary out of her cuff
Uh,
and like
right?
slap him with it or
I
something.
was thinking
Yeah.
the same thing. I was like, oh, what's coming out of her sleeve now?
Oh, yes.
Right?
I totally had flashbacks to that scene, and they delivered. It came out of her sleeve. It just was a different weapon.
Richie goes,
It's
she's going in the trunk. I mean, he's going in the trunk immediately.
Yep.
Well, maybe both of them are going. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I thought it's interesting because she pulls out a wrench, and it's the very thing that I think Daryl was asking from
Asking for.
Asking
from not
Isabel for, yep.
Sylvie, Isabel, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Going back to that scene, there is something that Sylvie starts praying when Caudron is about to shoot potentially Laurent, right? You'll miss it if you don't catch it because there's a lot of kinetic
I
energy in
heard
that
her,
scene.
but yeah,
Yeah, so this is actually
make it out.
Psalm. Let me see. I'm just because there's so much notes. This is Psalm 57:3. 57 verse 3. He shall send from heaven and save me when he that would swallow me up reproacheth. So basically, God will save me from a person who would otherwise swallow me up and reproach me, badmouth me. God, Selah, which means forever and until the end of all things, or the end of all time. God shall send forth his mercy and his truth, which pairs nicely with what Laurent says later. God loves you. Like beyond reproach, beyond whatever you think, God still loves you. So I thought it was very touching that
That's
Sylvie,
beautiful.
his sister, Laurent's sister, is saying this prayer, and then Laurent says the response basically, God loves you.
All right, guys, that's a good spot for me to say goodnight.
I thought I'd give you some Bible before you left. Some sweet dreams and
That's
Carol.
very
I have to go
nice.
too.
I appreciate it.
Sorry.
Well, let's say
Bedtime.
goodbye to you. If we have a little bit more, we'll do it, but then I think we're about to go too. But thank you,
All right.
Redheads.
Good night, you guys.
Original
I love you
Redheads.
guys.
Bye, guys. Love you
Bye, guys.
guys. Guys, the nest was so beautiful, wasn't it?
Whoa, she couldn't even wait for them to
Yes.
leave. My goodness.
I know.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
No, I was talking to Rachel
No,
and,
no.
and
No.
Just
Bridget.
Before I go,
I
It
love
was
sewing division.
Gondor. It was
I'm
Gondor.
really, really glad that we got to I'm glad that we got this show. I'm just
Yeah.
really thankful that we got this show. Because as stupid as I do need water, Tom. That's I already drank this whole thing. While
Yeah.
I'm sitting here.
It's ridiculous.
So I'm really thankful that we got it. I think it was really beautiful and I think it was extremely well done and the cinematography has been incredible and I'm just really thankful that it's renewed and that we get another season. And at New York Comic Con, Norman did say, I'll keep playing him. for
Yeah.
as long as you guys will let me. And I just,
Aw.
Yeah,
I know.
unlike many people who
Aw.
leave these
I know.
shows
He's
after
like
so many
not
years.
over it, you know? Like it was like it was like
I'm
when
sorry.
why can't I remember her name right now? Rosita.
Oh,
Christian
Christian
Serratos.
Serratos.
Christian
She
Yeah,
said,
how
"Yeah,
she
if you're gonna kill
asked
me, kill
she
me."
asked for Rosita to be killed off because she said I can't just leave that character
Mm.
hanging and not know what happens.
Right.
And I just think it's really beautiful to see these actors have such a connection with characters that we have such a connection for. And I am dehydrated, Thomas, and I keep crying, so that's not helping. But
No.
anyway,
But her
I love you
tears fuel
guys.
this
Good night,
show.
I love you
everybody
guys,
in
and
the
it feels like
chat.
we're at the end of something. But guess what? We're not, because we'll be back next week with
For
Fear,
Fear the Walking
Fear!
Dead's final 6 episodes.
Woo!
Yep.
which will
Good
bring
night,
on a whole
everybody.
nother wave of sadness. But good night.
Oh gosh.
Good night, Bridget. Good night,
Kind.
Rachel. We missed you
Love
so
you
much,
guys.
Rachel. I'm gonna be soft right now, so we love you
Love
and we
you,
missed you so
Rachel.
much.
Love you
So
I'll
guys.
talk
much.
to you in another 3 weeks, maybe.
I can't do it anymore. I can't. I can't keep it up anymore. That's not how I meant it. Bye.
I love you.
I love you.
um, I'm sad that I forgot to say this while they were here. When we were talking
The
about when
nest.
Daryl
So Mont Saint
was
Michel. You were saying how
What-
Mont Saint Michel was very, very
so
beautiful.
I was just so in awe, and it's like I wasn't even in person, and I was just so in awe of how beautiful it was.
Yes.
But it was a lot about this episode, like when he was climbing like the rocky part, and it was like a little like shack or something.
You're saying when he was going to the cemetery?
Going to-
well, not
going
necessarily the cemetery, but to the shore where
to
he was
the
going to get
boat,
picked up. Right?
yeah.
The
Yeah.
rock, the stone cottage.
Yes, it was so cute. I was like, oh my gosh.
You know, when you were saying how maybe that scene with Laurent coming up and saying Daryl, Daryl, being a hallucination, I didn't question everything necessarily, but I thought of, okay, so what leads up to that moment that would make us think that that was a hallucination? Was everything in his mind, was everything that we saw on screen a feeling more than literal as well?
Right.
Because it was raining. You wake up the next day and the dew and the sunlight hitting the grass in the morning, and you got to see that. And that was in the promos too, which is top notch. I'm glad we got to see that as in this episode. But I just felt like there was like he was sad to be gone. He was sad to had to leave these people. And he's feeling the things in the rain. You wake up the next morning and you feel a little bit empty, and yet life is still beautiful. Life goes on. And so it's nice how like visual storytelling can tell you how somebody may feel in that moment, or how we're supposed to regard him from that moment on, the conflict that goes throughout him, and then squaring up and landing directly at the grave and having to deal with that. If that grave scene was even real, by the way, but still, it
I
even
feel
if it
like
was a
it
feeling,
was.
whether it was or wasn't true, it doesn't matter, because the grave isn't the grave, and it's not about the grave. It's about how he feels about seeing the grave, what it means in relation to the story as well. And even Walking Dead Eternals, as long couldn't have followed Daryl. I think it's an illusion or something. Yeah, yeah, and you know,
They talk about how like France is its own character on the show.
what did we say that
And-
about? It wasn't New York City. It was Fear, wasn't it?
It was Swatty.
Yeah. Well, no, we were talking about the Fear landscape. I remember saying that was an additional character. The desolation, the scarcity, right? It was like the villain of the show. I remember.
It's like-
it's what made you fall in love with us, right, Sharon D? When I said that.
Even the horrible
Oh, I mean,
things.
that's season 7. I was watching way before that. I was watching you in season 5.
Right. That's when I said it. Well, season 4 is when I said it. Actually, sorry.
I wasn't
Sorry.
watching you in
I keep
season
cutting
4.
off Connie. Tequila.
Connie.
Well, she's also
Damn, now
Connie
he's getting
Dixon for
now
life.
he's getting your name wrong, Takira.
Listen,
She's not mad
ever
at it, though.
since the first time I walked up on Robert in person and he was like, Connie, I was like, I answer to Connie from now
I'm
on.
Connie.
That's
I'm
just-
Connie. That's it.
I'll be Connie. But no, like
Richie.
even the horrible things
We're beautiful.
have beauty. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I definitely feel you. Well, I mean, the color of the walkers' jumpsuits, the burners, the
Mm-hmm.
well, like Sharon, like what you were saying before. Even though things looked washed out, there was even like in the tense
There
scenes.
there were
There's
no vibrant colors in
right,
it.
right.
Right.
Yet the emotions and the things that were happening in the scenes were kinetic,
Mm-hmm.
right? I saw it's an interesting. You almost have to mute them down. Everything was so kinetic. So we
Did you
have to.
feel like?
We do have to do
Sorry.
one more thing, and
Okay.
you know what it's going to be. The big question, Quinn. Quinn. We have to go back to him because we said a lot of
Yeah.
things. We
Yeah.
all said a lot of things. Every single episode, we said a lot of things. Let's bring it up now. I said that Quinn was genuinely trying to atone or make things right with Isabel in the last episode. Going back on what I said originally, that he's a dirtbag that needs to be in the dirt. And by the time this episode rolls around, I actually feel like his actions in this episode, regardless of how he sounds and what he says, I think his actions spoke louder than words. And now I'm wondering now if you guys have a change of heart on him, having seen what transpired throughout this episode.
I did not find him slimy in this episode.
Well, I still
I
found him
didn't
slimy.
I didn't think he
Well,
became a better human being, but he just wasn't as slimy as I've found him
Do you think he
previously. It
redeemed
was
himself? Is my question really?
no,
no.
not
Oh
really.
wow, not even a little.
I mean,
No,
he
he did it because he had to. Because Daryl could have just chopped his head off and then cut his arm off after he was dead.
yeah.
So he did it because he had to. It wasn't like, oh, I'm
But it's
let
nice
me
to
be a better
offer.
person. He
The
he
one thing I
and then he made
respected
sure to tell Daryl to tell
to tell Izzy.
Isabel. Yeah.
But he
The
also
one
didn't have to give his life. So not
I
only
mean,
does
it was gone anyway.
not only does he offer his wrist, but he also offers his body. Because when the soldiers are around the corner, it's almost understood that he jumps out and attacks them all. He's like, my life is over. I don't have to do this. He doesn't really have to do this. But he's deciding to go out on a bang and giving Daryl himself, the guy who beat him up 2 episodes prior, who he definitely wants revenge over and calls him a ponce in the last episode, but he gives him a chance. At every opportunity where he could take revenge on Daryl, it maybe says that Janae was right about him, that he's more of a transactional man, but more
Well,
than
he
having
didn't
pride in himself.
he didn't take his revenge on Daryl in the pit because he definitely would have died if Daryl was dead.
He would
Yeah,
have.
his
Yeah.
And then
transactional
he had
nature.
no other he had no other choice.
I
Yeah.
was just
So
gonna say the only thing I respected that he did was not turning on Daryl in the match, but at the same time, if he did, the Walkers would have
right,
completely
he would be
destroyed
dead.
him.
That
Yeah,
was self-preservation until he
yeah.
realized he was bit.
And then even further. So how many people have we seen on the shows decide to spend their last moments not doing something altruistic? Yes, maybe some, but many of on this show will go and they'll die die. They'll die. They'll
True.
get eaten. Or oh yeah, I'm thinking vividly of John Dory Sr. I mean, he gave himself to the Walker Horde to give Morgan more time to get away with Baby Mo in season
That was
7.
so stupid.
But that's my case in point, in a sense. Sure, that's what a good guy would do. But a bad guy, essentially, and I'm not saying he's a good guy. You said he's like not as slimy. I'm saying no, he's still slimy. But actions speak louder than words. And we've seen this trope over and over again. He could have just spent his last moments effing off and smoking a cigarette. He didn't have to do this for Isabel. I just feel like there's something there. There's something there.
He didn't have time to figure out how to be slimy. There was so much going on.
And
That's what I truly think.
yeah.
The thing is, he still did it because he wanted Isabel to think that he was a good person, not because he actually was a good person.
I can get behind that.
Oh, so
I
you
can
know
get
how?
behind that.
Well, I don't know if y'all heard this, but Charmed told me that pride is the worst of the 7 deadly sins, and I feel like his pride wasn't gonna let him go out like a wuss, no matter what was happening.
Yeah, but his pride would have made him capture the opportunity of him dying anyway to kill Daryl, right? There was it's dicey of whether or not Isabel would have see the thing. If you question his motives and say, well, does he really care about Isabel? Does he want her to survive long enough to let her know that he made it happen, that she could survive even though he was going to die anyway, right? Is it worth that all that trouble, or is it more worth trying to trounce a guy who's bested him at every turn, beat his ass 2 episodes ago? See, I'm trying to figure that out.
He
And
didn't even do a good job of that because then he almost killed Isabel when he came a walker anyway.
well, he didn't know
Right.
that.
Right.
God, everybody wants to blame Quinn. I'm a Quinn apologist. 100%. And that's fine with me.
Also,
okay with
Richie
that.
has a theory about how Quinn kind of died in his mind, saying, "All right, I'm going out fighting. I'm gonna like f some poop up before I go out," and that might be why he was such a lively walker when he turned.
He he had a skip in his step. He was a happy walker. I did what I had to do. Maybe, I don't know, but also it's more likely that it was a variant that bit him, and that was the thing. Yeah, and he's a natural variant. He's not as like jittery
Right.
as the other ones. He's a natural occurring variant, aggressive, maybe burner
Like the
walker.
first Doctor, or not the first Doctor, but
like in the World Beyond scene.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah. It wasn't as twitchy and right. It wasn't. Yeah. Okay, so you know what? I have so many notes. There's just no way. If this is you two. I already talked about that. I don't know that there anything really is left to talk about.
not really, just
And
little tiny moments.
I need to go to bed too because I have to work in the morning.
Yeah, I just think so. There was a big argument about. You know what I'm about to talk about, Kira, and that is the whole. And Twitter had something to say about this as well. It's when Isabel tries to give him the guilt trip, is according to what most people say, and that was, I think you care about him, and that scares you. You think you're escaping history by doing this, but you're not. You're repeating it, is what Isabel says to Daryl before. He tries to slip out like they meant nothing to him, which is why
I forgot one very important line.
Which is why I agree when she says, again, you're repeating. He says, "You believe what you believe what you believe, and I respect you for that. This place feels like home to you and Laurent, but I have my own home to get back to." And she gets on, and so he gets in his face. She says, "What about?" She says earlier, "What about Laurent? You're gonna leave and abandon him like your father did to you." Yeah, that's what, nobody liked that line. Nobody liked that line. I do want to root that out because she's not wrong.
She's dead wrong.
You think
But
you're
it comes
slipping
back
out
to the circle, right? It's the cycle we talk about all the time with abuse and stuff. It's the cycle.
Yeah.
And she's trying to help him break the cycle. He's gonna break the cycle.
She's being manipulative. Like she's. I understand they have a bond and all that, but don't come at him like that's his kid. It's not his kid.
Yeah, but sometimes when you're friends with
But
somebody,
it's not her kid either.
Yeah. I mean, but also we don't belong to each other, but yet we love each other. And sometimes when you love each other, you have to say the hard truths or what.
But that is her kid. That's his mom. In the apocalypse, that is his mom.
And in the apocalypse, they'd be boyfriend and girlfriend. But still, I'm not complaining.
No.
Why not? But why not? When you care about somebody, like let's say you don't say it. Let's say we go on the idea that Daryl and Carol are essentially. Let's just use that as an example. After all this time, you don't have to say it, right? You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it. It just is. But isn't that true then with everything else? Isn't in some ways Laurent and he like a brother and sister? Sorry, a brother scenario. Like they could be seen as brothers. They can be seen as largely father and son. And isn't leaving that child figure, or what at least Laurent perceives as a father figure, regardless of how Daryl feels. Daryl picks up the fact that Laurent wants to be like him, and in the very same way that one would want to be a lot like their dad. So how can you slip out in the middle of the night like your dad did many times, even though things were easier without him? To which he, by the way, does not respond. Isabel says when they're driving, So it's good. No, no, while he's fixing the engine, that so I guess it's good that Laurent didn't grow up with a shitty father figure. And Daryl stays silent. He doesn't respond to this. So he should know better. That even if he had a shitty dad, it's still better than that. Maybe in some ways it's better than having no dad. You know, I don't want to weigh in on that, but maybe he feels deep down like maybe there was something redeeming about him. You know, maybe there could have been something about him that, you know, that he liked, even though most of it was crappy. So going back to he and Laurent, how dare you? How dare you? Really, how dare you?
How dare she?
But what's your response to that, though? How do you leave a kid like that, knowing what it was like to be left? Right?
I mean, he left
that's all
Judith
Daryl
after he
knows.
promised not to leave her.
So she was right. So she was right to say, hey, I know you don't know any better, but how dare you? Maybe
No,
you
I
should
still
think
say,
about it.
how dare she?
You don't have much to back it up other than your feelings.
I'm a parent, and I still think, how dare she?
Well, but why? Why? Drill down a little bit
Because
further.
that is not his kid. He has much, much, much deeper relationships with two other kids that he actually were taking care of as his kids at the time.
but
And
but they can
I
take care
don't
of
care what
themselves.
I don't care what she know. Who is
They
Rick
can move
Jr.
out and
taking
drive a
care
car
of?
right now. They can.
Who is Rick taking care of? Because I am fully convinced that this is nowhere near the Dead City timeline, and he hasn't been gone anywhere near as long as Maggie.
Well, I guess all I'm saying is that we agree that found family is a thing.
Hmm.
Family is whoever's. Some people say whoever is with you at the time that
I
makes you
disagree
feel
with that.
right.
Well, the thing is, she's desperate for him to stay. And sometimes when you're desperate, you say hurtful
True.
things to try to jar them into. Because if she, like, you're just doing just what your dad did, well, maybe that would jar him into saying, yeah, I am.
Or at
And
least to
I'll,
think about what he's doing
right.
too.
So I think part of it is desperation. She's desperate
New
for
Kofi
him to stay
subscription
there.
from Mitchell.
And she doesn't want to come out and say anything either.
Mitchell just joined a
I see
tier.
that.
I don't know what it
Yay.
was, but thank you, Mitchell. I don't know if
Um,
it's just the. We'll find out in a second. I can't find out now unless I see the emails. But thank you, Mitchell. It's good to have you aboard again. Sorry, I interrupted you, Sharon, but
oh, that's okay. I mean, I was just,
generally saying, yeah, just to jar
yeah,
him
just
into
right.
thinking about it.
She's desperate for him to stay, and
You know,
that's what the way she's tried please, she's tried Laurent as an excuse, and as a last ditch thing she's throwing, look, let me try throwing this out there.
you
That's
know,
a terrible thing to do with somebody that's been through so much trauma.
but I want to make it very clear, Kira, that I feel the same way as you. I don't disagree with the feelings part. That part of you that goes, wait, did she just right? That is in me too.
Right.
But as always, we got to do the thing where, or at least I do. I try to always look at it from a different angle.
Right. I was
Always.
trying to look at it from her end. I mean, this is traumatic for her, for Daryl to just leave, and
After all
how
you said
horrible
about
of
a guy
him
figure too in some, in the
after,
last few
right? Well, I mean,
episodes.
after everything you've been through, and I'm sorry, he's been looking at her, and she's seen it for the
Hmm.
last 3 days, and now you're just gonna leave without saying anything. You're just
But
gonna walk out the door, and I
like
mean,
you
she was
said, it's
probably a
been
little
this.
angry.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she was. But
Yeah,
it's been the same story from the beginning. He never said, "Oh, maybe I'll think
which is
about."
what he said too. Yeah,
Hmm.
I made a promise to
And
them too. Yeah,
like I now I'm gonna tell you my other side of the thing. I'm very conflicted because I was also in my head going, Daryl, are you freaking kidding me? Janae is coming. Like, what are you doing? But
okay.
so I was feeling like that, but also I want him to go home. So it's just
I get as a selfish watcher of The Walking Dead, you want your characters to go. I wanted
Well,
Morgan to go home in
look at
season
it this
4.
way:
Sure,
if he goes home, then we're right back to where Daryl was
that's true.
before he came to France.
and
Yeah.
this is the
And
point.
I'm gonna tell you, all that growth he has can be lost because he'll go back right to the same
Yeah.
position he was in when he was there before.
And this goes to the original question of why he was out there to begin with. Freeport, Maine, ends up on a boat to France. He says this to Isabel. I was out there looking for something. He says specifically this. She says, wasn't the whole point of your journey to find something or what was out there? And he goes, it's the same story ever since I washed ashore. So Daryl was looking for something that made his life worth living. So you can say anything you want about the kids being the of course he loves the kids, but they're not his kids. Maybe there's something inside of him. You know, when we open up the episode with, or when we end that opening scene with looking on Bill Dixon's body, I thought to myself in that moment, and of course you tie it neatly to the gravesite at the end, Bill Dixon. I thought he's looking at the grave and thinking to himself, I am 3 times older, at least, than this young man my grandfather was when he died. He managed to squeeze out a kid before he left, and I have been in Arrested Development for the longest time in many respects, among which is not having a wife and a child of my own. So it doesn't that you feel so much of your mortality in that one moment. And there's gratitude there too, that thank God that you did, because I'm here now to help these people and to be living and alive, and I've lived through an apocalypse, whatever this magic sauce that led me to this moment, right? I'm grateful, but I'm also fearing my own mortality. But yeah, what was that sacrifice for? What was that secret sauce for if I can't live for myself? Or if I'm sad about my own mortality, that yes, I love all these people and I would die for them. But am I willing to die for myself? Am I willing to take a chance on me? So when you look at Isabel and Daryl's fight, of course you can say Isabel's a bit too much. But isn't Daryl not enough too? Isn't he not fighting at all? I get that the default logical position is to keep your first promise. But then he's just completely denying, by way of slipping out in the middle of the morning, in the just dead of morning.
That was part of his instructions also, though.
Yes, but his instructions did not say to not say goodbye to everybody, by the way. You know, when you're... Okay, this is getting a little bit personal right now. I had mentioned in a previous episode about how my dad would, when we were kids, we lived in Jersey. He would leave 7 in the morning, work up until, and he would get back at 9 p.m. I'd never see him. And so the most I would get is in the morning, he would give me a kiss on the forehead before he left. And then when he came back home, you know what the saddest thing was? When he stopped doing that. To me, I remember it. I felt like, did I do something wrong? So imagine Laurent, after everything they've been through, and all the laughs that he's had, the Rubik's Cube and the blindfolding them to see if they could solve it in that one scene, and then him not saying goodbye to him. Not even saying goodbye to him. That, for me, personally, that broke me a little bit. The thought. And I didn't think about it until Isabel shook me, as Sharon says, shook me into really thinking about it. Yeah, that's happened to me. And that's a father that I've grown up with all my life. And listen, I love my dad to death. No question. But it made me think about some of his more dubious decisions in life. And it does hurt. It doesn't matter if you know that they love you in the end when you're an adult and thinking logically. But as a kid, as smart and precocious as you are, as long, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's still going to hurt. You shouldn't have to deal with that. And you shouldn't have to live with maybe thinking, oh, was I not enough? Because that's what a kid thinks when they're abandoned. Well, I wasn't enough to get him to stay. And he wasn't even around to say it's not that you're not enough.
Like that.
Right?
Judith feels not enough.
I think Judith knows. She said goodbye to Daryl. She waved goodbye to him.
Never come back home.
Well, he said goodbye. He didn't slip out in the middle of the day, right? Dude, that's my
he wasn't leaving to never come back either.
Well, that's kind of my point, though. It feels like there's not much of a difference, but it's a huge difference. Kids walk away sometimes, even if they know logically later on, oh, he was just trying to spare me the hurt. that whole gap of time where you figure that out, you feel like absolute dog crap, and all the residual effects affect you later on in life. You still don't get over it, even though you logically know that it's not true.
I think they want us to watch this show and forget the investments that we have in characters that Daryl does love and just say, oh, look, he has Isabel and Laurent now, and we should be happy with that. And it's like, no, that's not.
No, no, I'm
Like,
glad. I'm glad you said that because I really am because there is always going to be that feeling that we should be
Well,
back at
I
with
don't
Team
feel
Family.
that way at all. And here's the thing: Daryl's gone all the time. Apparently, he leaves. He leaves and goes to do his,
Business.
searching or whatever. He's gone all the time. So it's not like he's someone who's super uber present and then all of a sudden he's just gone. He's already spending long amounts of time away.
Oh my God, Isabel is the audience in a way, but in like reverse, right? Isn't the audience like all about you should come back? You should come back to Team Family. Let me say
yes,
something hurtful to Daryl to
Isabel
get him
is,
to come back.
yes,
Isn't
yes,
Isabel in a sense the
yes,
audience that wants him to come back? Right,
yes, she
Sharon?
is. I
I
think she
mean,
feels like
you
we
got
do.
if Daryl goes home, you don't have a show.
That's true too. That's true too. I mean,
But
eventually
why?
you can make it that you can that can
Yeah.
happen where everybody can come back with him or something. But oh, this is a bigger point now. So we go back to U2 Seconds, right? The song U2, sorry, the song called Seconds by U2. And what that's supposed to tell you is that just like the Civic Republic military is everywhere. I think what it's trying to tell you is that this song was created in response to global panic in response to the Cold War, but also atomic superpowers across the world, of which France was one, but so was the USSR, so was America. And what that's supposed to tell you, this song played in conjunction with the Carol and Daryl, by the way, is that get ready for global conflict, probably.
That's what I'm thinking
We've
too.
got
Yeah.
In the Wind, we have
World War Carol,
World War Book of Carol. So we've
World
got
War World War C.
oh yeah, World War
Um,
Carol P.
the fact that they said that the season would always end with Daryl standing on a beach choosing to stay in France lets me know that, or lets me feel like there is some kind of CRM connection and it's about to be global. Like we're gonna need people.
You're comparing this to Rick at the in the last episode of The Walking Dead, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The final scene where he's looking up at the helicopter on the shore, having just killed another walker.
Yes.
Very, very, very. I like it. I like it a lot. The imagery is spot on. Yeah.
Global thermonuclear war. Sorry, had a War Games flashback
Yeah.
there.
Exactly. I saw it.
I
Oh, wait.
guess I don't know. I don't want him to stop wanting to go home, but at the same time, like you said, Sharon D, like nobody wants him to revert back to
Not
the
wanting to live for
Daryl of
himself
before. Yeah.
and not
Well, I mean,
grabbing the ring.
Bridget spent this whole time talking about how much she loves the growth he's had, and she doesn't want
Mm-hmm.
Carol coming over to change that. But yet, if Daryl goes home, he's
Home.
gonna go right back to being the old
Yeah.
Daryl.
Yeah, and I think what's going to end up happening is that Carol's going to get roped into whatever this is.
Oh,
What she
yeah.
was supposed to be
Yeah.
roped into from the beginning with, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But let's ask the final question. I think this is the one question we want to ask before we go. And I will let me go to let me go to some comments first, and then I'll get to the question. Okay, Walking Dead Journal says Laurent couldn't have followed Daryl. I think it's illusion, right? I said that before. Walani says no. I still did not like Quinn. Essentially, Walani, come on, man. I need an ally. Walani says he was dying anyhow. Thank you for the subscription, Mitchell. Oh, and it's a Whispers tier. Thank you for the Whispers tier subscription. Well, then get ready for some merch if you really, really want half price off merch. That's what Whispers get minimum. Okay, so the question is, can you even imagine what the series would have looked like with Carol in it from the beginning? Or do you feel like, in a sense, that you're kind of glad that it was just Daryl? That we got to focus in on some of the more other sides of Daryl, do you think? Because I feel like
think it
maybe
worked
Isabel
out.
might have been the stand-in for Carol in some sense. I don't know if Clémence
Oh.
Posé was supposed to be a part of this from the beginning. I'm not sure. I may be talking out of my butt, and it could. But do you feel like you're glad that maybe Carol wasn't involved or Melissa McBride wasn't involved in this first season? That we're glad
I don't,
what we got.
I don't want anyone to think that I dislike Carol because I don't. I think she's badass. I think she's an awesome character.
But
But
you like Daryl more. That's all.
I love the fact that we got Daryl by
I'm
himself.
just kidding.
I just love it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't really think about focusing in and honing in on Daryl. And I was never, ever a Daryl fan. Ever. There were moments where I was like, oh, I would be really upset if he died right here with the Alpha fight in season 10,
Mm,
I think it was.
hmm
But I couldn't care less. I gotta admit, the series made me like Daryl a lot. A lot.
If Daryl dies, we riot. I was one of those
Oh, no, no,
people.
no. I'm not. I'm still a story above everything else. Man, jeez. Sure. You know, listen, you love what you love. But Sharon D, I gotta ask. In a way, are you glad that it was just Daryl and not Daryl and Carol?
Yes,
Yeah.
because otherwise it would have been, and I don't want to get the hate from the shippers. It would have been Carol, 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 Carol,
hmm
Carol, and that is
The audience meeting saying
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
right.
yeah.
Oh, Carol, and no, no. I think not having nothing against Carol. I love Melissa McBride, but I think not having Carol on this was a better choice. At least right away.
Right. Like a beautiful accident in a sense,
Yeah.
Unless they were gonna do the show that I predicted which was
which is our art.
Carol walking Walker Daryl around, which because I would have been totally down for that.
I feel like we've referenced that every single episode, thanks to the art concept that we fleshed out finally, which you can get from the merch store, Mitchell, for half price on the because you're in the Whispers tier, and so can you, Kira, because you're in the Survivors tier, and you can
I
be
know.
on here with us when we do these episode breakdowns, which
2 weeks and
sadly,
I'm making an order.
sadly, I think we've come to an end. Right? I think so, right? You
Yes.
shot my man, da, 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 this happens, that happens, ba, 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 and I know we missed things, but however, I'm very happy that we got to have the conversation that we had because I think we hit on all the big beats of the things that we like to talk about, which is decisions. You know, people making decisions, having deeper conversations, and maybe it's not always about the Easter eggs and the references, and I'm glad we got to say things that I never would have thought of, like Merle and Daryl in the pit in Woodbury. I'm really
Dave. I'm sorry, keep going.
I was gonna say I'm really happy with this season finale. There,
Yeah,
I
I
feel
was.
like for me though, I, I that's why I asked the question in the beginning. Do you feel like this ending was satisfactory? And I think because that we were left on this interesting cliffhanger where does he choose to stay? Does he choose to go? We know that he stays. Obviously, we know that he stays. Maybe I don't know. Probably. But the manner
I mean,
in
this
which they did it, that's
it
what
feels
bugged me a
like
little bit.
is it satisfying? Sure, because they could have ended it right here, and you could have make up your own mind and
Yeah,
your own imagination what happens after that.
yeah.
It's like Dead City again, in a sense, right?
I have a funny for you guys. So at the end, he realizes, oh, I'm crying, but the boat is right there, so I got to get out of here. He goes and he lets the boat know, like, I'm here for you. Richie said, then the boat did the walker signal. And he turned around and all the walkers started coming out of the woodwork.
Wait, what's the Walker signal?
I mean, he flashed Daryl, like basically saying, I see you, like I'm acknowledging
Okay,
that I
okay.
see you. But right after that is when all the walkers came out. So Richie said he sent the walker signal. He
Yeah.
was signaling for the walkers to come out and eat.
I mean, also,
Bat-
also
like the bat
yelling,
signal.
yelling that loudly on the beach would have been the thing. You don't need. I mean, come on. And it's not like we haven't seen lurkers before. Right? They're in the tall grass and they start
Mhm.
coming out from the woodwork. Yeah, he could have walked silently and made it to the boat, no problem. But he yelled at the boat, and that was the thing, everybody. Which lends to the idea that maybe this was an illusion too, because all those walkers coming out of the woodwork, the beaches of Normandy, Laurent
Did you see
suddenly
him
appears.
crawling out of the cave? They were crawling out of the
Yes,
cave underneath the
yes.
bluff.
I did not see that, but now I'm going to pay
Yeah.
closer attention to that.
It's awesome.
That was by the way, this is the moment where I'm on second watch. I'm like, okay, I'm running late. I need to finish this up. I need to get to the show. And which, by the way, is over. So if you like what you've heard, head over to ratethis.podcast.com/squawking dead. 5 stars and an aubergine is all we need to know. You love us, but tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like, but remember, well, and tell us what we definitely missed. But remember to tell us after every episode. And if you really like what we've done and you really want more of it, well, consider, because we're not always going to live stream, right, Mitchell? You're a Whispers tier member, right? You know this as well as anybody else. Well, sometimes we do most of the time we do pre-recorded shows, and in order to be in the real-time chat as we record while we're doing these shows that we pre-record and have better quality, well, there's only one way to get the schedule for those recording sessions, which are free to attend, and that's if you just follow us for free on either Ko-fi or Patreon. That's ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead. You don't have to buy us a coffee for access to our unedited episode recordings, and you don't have to join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month to get access to our Discord. All you really need to do is follow us for free. You'll get the recording schedules when they're posted, usually a day in advance or like 12 hours at the very least, or on the day of, which is terrible of me, but I do it anyway. But surprise! You can join us in the recordings. And if you really, really like us, you can tip us for access to the unedited episode recordings. And you can be like Mitchell and join a membership tier and at least receive access to our Discord, if not our undying love. And also other perks as well. Like if you're in the Survivors tier, you can join us on screen for these episode breakdowns. If you're in the Whispers tier, you can join us during our Jackbox Games live streams, of which I'm praying for, because that means that I have enough time to do those streams. And also Whispers and Survivor tier members also receive 50% off in the merch store, as well as the following shout outs at the end of every episode, which is, we only do this when we're live. In the Survivor series, we have Connie Dixon for life. That's Takira right here, right now. That's ko-fi.com/Connie Dixon, the number 4 LYFE. And hold on a second. I got to get all my membership tiers up. We have at Real Ryan GM on Twitter. Linda Peck Athens, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/fanartlindy. And of course, Eliza Jones at Eliza Jones 71 on Instagram, or at Jones AJ6 on Twitter, who also hosts a podcast called Relishing the Dead, who just had a charity auction. We should have talked about this a little bit more, but you should follow her Facebook group, or their Facebook group, and check more of that out later. On to our Whispers tier members. We've got, of course, newly minted Whispers tier member Mitchell, who you can reach at I found them Rick G on Twitter. Of course, we've got both at sandy.d.morrison and at lois.martin.54 on Facebook as well. Both Survivors tier members. At Tyler Phillip Cox on both Instagram and Twitter. Aiden Atkin, who you can reach at ko-fi.com/Aiden Atkin. And of course, at Judith.Morton on Instagram. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of these conversations, this wonderful, wonderful series that I feel very, very blessed to have broken down. I love that the Walking Dead universe is not phoning it in. They're really, really honing in on these characters who we've grown to love so much, and now they can build out the rest of the universe. Would you agree with that?
Same about Fear. I wish I could say the same about Fear.
Well, Fear was the prototype, right? He's the firstborn dumb child, right? That we didn't quite get the parenting right on, like me, obviously. But
Daryl Dixon is a pleasant surprise, because I really did not expect to like it.
Yeah.
And I really love it. So
yeah, I really do too.
It was a pleasant surprise.
There's so much.
The one I was looking forward to.
Yeah. Hey, no shade on Dead City, but there's something about. Listen, I live in New York City, so it's nice to see where you live, but it's really, really cool.
It's such a different tone. It's a very, very different tone.
It's not as FU and kinetic and like just high tension all the time. With Daryl Dixon, like I said in the first episode,
probably the most laid back.
There's a bit more breathing room, isn't there?
It's the most laid back version of The Walking Dead we've gotten so far.
Yeah, I wouldn't say laid back, but I would say there's just been such a nice breathing room to tell a story.
It's a very quiet show.
It's like a calm over the show somehow.
It's like the Downton Abbey of Walking Dead shows.
Which, if you remember who these episodes revolve around, you wouldn't think Daryl
Right.
Dixon at all. And yet, here we are. And that says a lot about this series. So, with that, everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us for the entire series. And we hope you join us next week as we talk about the final 6 episodes of Fear the Walking Dead, which are promised to be great. I just hope that's true. Hey, listen, we all love this. We all love Fear. We do.
Yeah.
And so
I mean,
that's why we
I'm
say
here
that.
for June. I'm here for June all the way. So
I'm here for Alicia, and she's not even here.
I'm here for the story. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us tonight. We really love you. Thank you for being here. Good night.